I'm going to do a 2 Live Crew song for a second. She's going to have me worried. What up, guys? Tuesday Shows is back.
Hey, what's going on? Get it?
What's going on?
Well, that works too. They weren't on Motown.
I know all my people are pumped. They haven't had their Bradley fix in a
That's
few months.
right.
You know, the lead singer there,
He is back.
on Blondes, was in a relationship with Sarah Gilbert for quite a while.
Yes.
They were together.
She wrote a bunch of Pink's songs for her.
That is correct.
And produced one of Pink's albums and one of Christina Aguilera's albums.
But see, there we go.
Gaguilera.
Gaguilera. Boy, we are coming
Christine,
on
man.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, no, I don't think we're on tonight because I don't think Common John opens till Thursday.
No, okay, because it's on the bottom of the crawler there. Hello, Hector.
Oh, well, I mean, on Thursday night, so I'm still promoting that. Should I change it?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Just to make sure people don't try to go to Common John and then be mad at LeBron for not being open.
The man, baby.
That's right. It is demand. Wednesday night church, Common John Brewer Company.
There you go.
I'm going to fix that.
I let them be closed on Monday and Tuesday, but give me Wednesday.
I had wings.
Yeah. I go to the gym and then just head over to the brewery. Gym closed, way stinky and all.
I was proud of you for going to the gym yesterday.
Man, my arms, my boobies are killing me.
Travis has got 4 pectorals.
I do. I can do like up to 150 pounds. And then I go back December 21st, and then if everything looks good, he'll full release me after that to do whatever.
My dad's got an old weight bench sitting over in the shop, and it basically just sits there and collects dust.
Yeah.
We were over there visiting one day, and Anna said, I bet you can't lift that 20 times. And I don't even know how much weight was on it. It wasn't a ton.
Yeah.
And I was like, I bet I can. So I jumped in there and knocked out 20 quick. And I got up and I walked outside. I was like, oh, I'm going to feel that tomorrow.
Oh, it's terrible.
Seriously, what's going on?
I've been doing more of the weight, trying to lose weight and be slim and trim. I'm not doing a whole lot of heavy
Yeah.
lifting, just enough to keep my sexy form that I already
That's right.
have.
Keep that sexy.
That heavy lifting, that's thank goodness I used to do it. A couple more years at the bank, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
All right, y'all ready to do this?
Seriously, I'm waiting on you.
Boop.
What are we doing tonight?
Ready to do it? We're doing Motown. Fix to do the intro. Been a while since we did Tuesday shows. I forgot how to
To
do
what?
it. I forgot how to do them.
What are we doing tonight?
You're just hanging out.
We're talking about music because I'm here.
I'm wondering why he was here.
That's right. All right, everybody. Welcome to the
Next episode.
of the Everyday Joe Show. I'm host Lee Travis Reed. You might have heard of me before.
They have heard of you.
They have. All right, guys, here we are. Tuesday night music edition. Motown. Tuesday shows are back online. How about that?
Woo!
Yeah, I'm liking it. Took a little hiatus. We'll get in that in a minute. Hiatus.
Got a highness.
Tooth, how are you?
Not so bad, you.
Not so bad.
Not so bad.
All right. What you got to drink?
You would be surprised.
I ain't gonna guess.
It's Dr. Pepper.
No way.
I do have a backup plan of a Dasani water.
Ooh.
Well, Bradley was going to be here. I wanted to have something he was having,
Well, yeah.
and he likes water.
Make him feel welcome.
I wouldn't say I like water, but it's just a necessary evil nowadays.
He chooses water.
He does choose water.
So
Or
I
does water choose him?
I chose water as a backup tonight. But right now, I've got one of those 16-ounce cans, one of them big boy cans.
What's in it?
23 flavors of awesome.
What flavor you hitting today?
Buddy, I'm all over flavor 4 and flavor 12 today.
Really?
I mean, it's just coming through like wildfire.
Wow. Like wildfire. Man.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here. I know you're fired up about this episode.
I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
I like episodes that are fun and that I kind of like have something to do with.
Yeah, that you're in charge of.
Those are my favorite.
Wait a minute. Bradley Ramsey.
Hello, hello.
How are you, sir?
I'm good.
Good, man. Good to see you back here.
I'm glad to be back.
Man, me too.
I was afraid you guys had moved on and left me in the dust.
No.
And
We
I
had
got
to
the call, and I was like, well, if they don't cancel on me for the third time, I said, we'll do this again.
No, we good, man. We back. What you having to drink? What's in that can?
Man, it is Food Lions Black Cherry Seltzer Water. So I got me a little flavored water to kind of shake up the monotony of things.
That and a spit can, right?
Well, I kind of enjoy I still like that sound, and so I found me something that I can
It's a
get.
pacifier.
I can get that from, but it's still none of the negative side effects that used to get me in trouble.
Gotcha.
They make O'Doul's. I don't know if it comes.
That's
in cans.
man. That's no good. That's like going to the buffet and not getting to eat. As much like going to the gentleman's club. It's just the O'Doul's is no good.
Yeah.
Can we just say being vegan?
I think that it might have been John Daly that I heard say that drinking non-alcoholic beer is like getting Hooters food to go.
Wait a minute, I just did that Saturday.
Well, you had O'Doul's then. It's the O'Doul's of food.
Oh, bull is an O'Toole.
Well, thanks for being here, Bradley.
Oh, thanks for having me anytime.
Whoa.
What up, yo?
How are you, sir?
Man, I am well.
You are well.
Eli's
aren't
not
you?
here to steal my stick.
No, so you stole tooths.
On the normal Tuesdays, I did it when Eli had been absent. If Eli is absent on Thursday, that's Tooth's roll. I've got it written down.
Well, that's cool and all, but if you'll go back to the archives, Tooth just used to say well every time he was asked. And then Letterkenny came out, and then Travis and I started throwing a little Letterkenny fun in there. But I always would say I'm well, and thanks for asking, because that was my...
Well, I was talking about the next episode.
Oh, well, yeah, he took... Okay, well, now I'm lost.
Would you pay attention to the show?
I've never been here before. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Well, what are you drinking? Nothing. You don't even have a mellow yellow over there?
Ugh.
What
Gassy.
did you just
What's up, Gar?
do in our studio?
It's a man's night.
Nicole, you like T-shirt? We're fixing to get some made just like that.
We'll sell you one.
That's right. Just like that.
Just like it.
Just like that.
It's got my face on it.
Well, thanks for being here, boy. I know you're pumped. You know a lot about this subject as well, sir. You're well versed in Motown.
Very passionate about it.
He's knowledgeable.
He is. You too. I think me and Bradley Bird just sit here and look pretty.
Yeah, this will be one of the few music episodes that I'm afraid that I won't have the deep insight that I have on others. I mean, I can tell a lot of good stories related to it just because I grew up on it, but I have a feeling these two are gonna, like you said, gonna leave you and me in the dust.
Oh yeah,
we'll just be a spectator at this party.
Speaking of dust, if y'all ain't careful, you don't want to be behind Bull.
No, that's right.
He's crop dusting the whole studio. What are you drinking tonight, Travis?
Man, I got a fine pilsner tonight.
A golden top?
Yeah, Common John's closed. I couldn't go get a growler. So I'm having a Golden Top Diet Miller, fine pilsner beer, accessible in the can.
I sure hope it's still good after you've been drinking all this snobby fancy beer.
I know, man. Union made,
How do you know?
accessible in the can.
What?
Yeah,
So it's got two statements on the can.
it does. Isn't that weird?
That's weird.
What's up, Yvette? How are you, sister?
They really want you to know about their beer.
They do. I'm gonna have a drink of this.
I want to know what this drink's going to taste like. I just want to know.
Upcoming Christmas bonus that is not the Jelly of the Month Club.
Is it tax-free?
Tax free.
I'll be darned.
Man.
It's kind of like you can visit exotic locations and travel the world, but there's nothing like going home, is there, Travis?
That's right. I like it.
There's nothing like going home. I like it. He sips it like soup.
Yeah.
Slurp.
I can remember getting back from an all-inclusive trip, or I think it was a cruise, and when we got back, left the Nashville airport, I said, as soon as we stop by a store, I want a 6-pack of Bud Light, and I'm going to order a Pizza Hut pizza. I said, I've been around, I've had fine cuisine, I've drank exotic beers, I want a 6-pack of Bud Light and a Pizza Hut pizza.
That's right. Going home.
For starters.
Yes. And then my bed.
All right, guys. As you see, Tuesday show's back on the line. We took a little hiatus there. Me recovering from the neck surgery. Of course, on Thursdays we're on the rooster, so we had to get all that worked out and get our feet wet. So that's all good to go. So now we're going to get back on these Tuesday, do the music once a month, sports, movies.
Oh, yeah. Talking my language.
Yeah. And then the
My language.
one of my favorites, the lady shows, because I get to sit in between two fire ass hot women, and I like it. Yeah.
Lady A, who else?
It just depends.
Just depends.
Just depends. They're all hot. Love them. Love them.
So you've already brought music up with the Speaking My Language. So you know that song by Morphine?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank goodness.
Sister Morphine?
No, just Morphine.
Just Morphine.
I was with someone the other day. Who was it? it doesn't matter, but they played me a song, and they were like, check this out. You probably never heard this one. And they played a little Unsung by Helmet, and I was like, come on, you're going to have to pull that on somebody else. You're
They
gonna
didn't know they was dealing
it's like,
with.
I said, I apologize, but I'm going to have to roll my eyes at that. It's a great song, but
You didn't know who you was dealing with.
Yeah, so Tuesdays are back in play. Here we go. We got something else to do. Also, guys, don't forget we got some new T-shirts. We got a few of the OG T-shirts. We also got hoodies.
Hoodies.
$30. Nicole Farmer, I'll have yours in my car tomorrow. So you or Christopher can come by and grab it. What else we got? This Thursday, we're not going to be at Billy's Butlers. We are going to be here. Special guest Bo Burchell, Workout Anytime Fitness. He is a Marine and a veteran, so kind of goes in well. Today is the Marine Corps' birthday, 245th birthday, I believe.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Marines. Thank you for your service. And most especially Chloe Montgomery.
Absolutely.
Nee Haggard. So thank you. And I think that's it, boys. Let's get into talking some Motown. Y'all ready for this?
Oh, yeah.
Billy
Motown.
back again.
All right, now, Tooth and Bull, like we said earlier, know quite a bit about the Motown. Tooth watched a documentary that was released back in 2002, you said?
What
was it called?
It's called Standing in the Shadows of Motown. It came out in 2002.
02. So he watched that.
I rewatched it. I've watched it now twice.
Twice?
Twice.
So he's on that. Bull just spit it out
He just had it all memorized.
by way of osmosis. I don't know.
No, we were part of a lot of stuff in Detroit. And so, of course, whenever they're talking about rebuilding Detroit, a lot of the foundation that they used to bring it back to life was not only Ford and GM and building all that, but it was also Motown. And just sort of the home of creativity and building that would guide the rest of the nation and world. So a whole lot of that was about Motown. So I knew some of it, but back and forth to Detroit for a long time, it was just...
Not to mention, Bull has some kind of history in the music industry, and
Brian.
that's got a lot to do with it, too.
That is correct, yeah. Now, I didn't work with a lot of people in Detroit. A lot of my people were in New York, Clive Davis and those other people that I got to learn from.
You know Bob the Builder may not know anything about Motown, but we might not know anything about Bob the Builder's. You see what I'm saying?
Correct.
You're passionate about music, so you're going to have some knowledge about that stuff.
Yeah, I'm very passionate, especially Motown. Like just the grittiness of Detroit, the grittiness of the time in the industry, everything from the way it's recorded to the way it was distributed, the way the artist was taught. I mean, so much lessons learned.
Right. And, this goes without saying we wouldn't have some of the music we have today without Motown. There would be no all of these people without Motown. 100%, as Matt McCarthy would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So Motown, as everybody knows, Berry Gordy founded Motown January 12th, 1959, Detroit, Michigan. Hitsville, USA. What's the name of the basement?
So it's the Snake Pit.
The Snake Pit.
The Snake Pit.
That's where they did all the recording.
So all the recording that went on from 58 or 59, you said, to 72 when Motown appeared in L.A., all of the recording was done at Hitsville, USA in the Snake Pit. And when they started, the Snake Pit was straight up dirt floors, like a basement in an old house in Detroit.
Yeah. And now it's a museum.
Absolutely. There's some real floors in there now, but they were not there back in the day. But some of the sound that you got from the Snake Pit, you can't get unless you were in the Snake Pit. You know what I mean?
That is correct.
Right. Of course, I knew Berry Gordy, started and it was in Detroit. And you guys reading up on him and the dude's like 90 years old, still alive, I guess. Yeah. He was a professional boxer, and then he got drafted to military, fought in Korea, came back, did some odd jobs. You say he worked at Ford,
and he was a boxing promoter as well.
And he had $800, which apparently was from family and friends. Invested it, and boom, we got Motown. So that's hustling right there, son.
Well, and it's not only boom, we got Motown, but he didn't go across the country. He walked across the street.
Yeah, right. So, Tooth, give us a little background on the documentary. That'll kind of get us started.
So, Standing in the Shadows of Motown really gives you a great history of the start. So Barry Gordy actually, in that day and age, the music scene, you had your nightclubs, you had your champs or your whatever, and there was a lot of live music going on, and the jazz scene was big, and Barry Gordy had went around literally himself and just listened at these different places to these different musicians playing, and he wanted to get a group of the best musicians he could find to do the recordings for what it was going to be, Motown Records.
Right.
So when he would meet somebody that had the sound that he was looking for, that had something different, it wasn't just your regular Joe Blow guitar player, bass player, he would, hey, come sit in with these other fellas. Let's see what you think, you know? And then that became 13 guys that were known as the Funk Brothers, and they became Motown.
The sound of Motown.
That is the sound of Motown. Everything recorded from 59 to 72, these guys, almost everything that came out of there, these guys recorded. 13 guys.
That's amazing.
And you got to think, we were talking earlier about some stuff before we got on here, but these guys, they may have been told what the idea, hey, this is what we want it to sound like, but they had to put it together. And It was, like I said, and for most everything that came out of there for those 12, 13 years, these same 13 dudes did it. Crazy.
It's amazing.
Crazy.
Unbelievable. And how many... Do you want to talk about? You want to do that now?
So I mean, I'll tell you all about it. I'll let you. You can ask questions. I'll tell you whatever you want to know. So the Funk Brothers, they really didn't get the credit they deserved. That's what this documentary was about when it came out in 2002. And I think the first time I watched it, it was probably 2005, 2006. But I didn't know any of the stuff that I learned from watching it the first time. As far as these guys did all the music, you've got drum sections, you've got vibes guys that are doing things like tambourine, and you've got guitar sections, and you might have, when I say drum sections, certain Motown songs, you might hear the drop in at the beginning of the song, and you might hear a drum beat, and then you might hear another drum beat. That's another drummer. Right. That's two drummers playing, and they're playing off of one another. But it was said that the Funk Brothers have more number one hits than the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Beach Boys, and Elvis Presley combined. Wow. Which, that's 39. That's how many, if you combine the other four bands there, the other four people, you've got 39 number ones. 39 is just like a small portion of the number ones that these guys have been a part of. So yeah, they dwarf that number.
That's ridiculous.
And it's crazy, but these guys didn't get any of the recognition.
No. Or the money. That's what we talked about earlier, is that, Motown's notorious for, they underpaid all of their musicians, all of the celebrities didn't make any money, or at least not off of the songs, the publishing of the songs.
Right. Yeah, that is unreal.
Inconceivable.
It is inconceivable. Yes. I had no idea. Like I said, my knowledge of Motown is very limited. Now, I have learned after researching, I knew a little bit more about Motown than I thought I did, just by putting two and two together. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, well, that's who saying, all right, I get it now. So kind of like what Bradley, you were talking about when you walked in. But the Funk Brothers, I never knew that. And that's a shame.
It is a shame. Now, this documentary brought a lot of light to them, and brought a lot of knowledge about them. And then there's actually two members of the Funk Brothers, the original 13. Two members have been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Benny Benjamin's the one I'm going to talk about, the one I remember most, but he was profound in the drum world. Like, there are beats and styles of drumming that are accredited to Benny Benjamin. He invented this style. He invented this, whatever you want to call this role. He invented this. This is Benny Benjamin. And they were talking about that on this documentary too. They kind of go out and show you where everything comes from. And Benny actually helped find a lot of the members after he was found. You know what I mean? So it's just really amazing to think, with all of the artists that we're going to talk about tonight, like the Supremes and the Temptations, all of these artists recorded with these same 13 people. And it might not have been all 13 people on every track, on every album, you know what I'm saying? But these same 13 guys transitioned in and out with one another and did these recordings. And if you watch the documentary, which I highly recommend checking it out, there are performances done with some of the original members still playing music.
Wow.
But like Joan Osborne comes out and sings a couple tunes. Excuse me. I just went blank on some of the other notable names that came out and sang.
You aren't even drinking.
And I'm not even drinking.
Wow. Wow.
Bootsy Collins. Bootsy Collins comes out a little bit. Man, there's just a lot of good going on with this documentary.
Tooth
Hector. I think in the documentary they mentioned that the Funk Brothers performed in more number one hits than Elvis
Yes, sir.
and the Beach Boys.
That's amazing.
Hector, I'm glad that you brought that up after I had already said it. It lets me know that you're paying attention. Thank you so much.
Late to the party.
Have you been here long?
No, he wasn't because you said twice earlier and he said twice the tooth.
Yeah. But no, it's he's absolutely correct. You just need to add the Beach Boys into that, and the number is 39. And they had well more hits than the 39 that were mentioned.
Unbelievable. Now, apparently, the first, I guess, artist or signee it was Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. Is that correct?
Bull, would you confirm that?
Or just the Miracles, actually?
I think it was just the Miracles. Tooth and I were discussing that earlier.
So in the beginning of the Miracles, Smokey Robinson was always a member, but I think they were just called the Miracles. And then some things went down, and of course Smokey was the shining light, so it became
That
Smokey
happened several
Robinson.
times. Temptations also, then Diana Ross and the Temptations.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so on and so forth. Of course, Lionel Richie splits off from the Commodores. We'll get into that later. But
Yes, we will, because Travis has got some just astronomical knowledge when it comes to the Commodores.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Well, no, what you're going to tell us is just it's astronomical to me that you didn't know.
Mind blowing. Yeah.
It's
hey, speaking of things I didn't know, I have walked by this earth for 44 years, and I love Sam Cooke.
yeah.
Didn't know till today that he was not a Motown artist.
No.
He started his own label, and he was
Arista.
affiliated with RCA at one point in time. And
Yeah,
then,
I think Arista was.
and then- but then-
I think Arista, but he went to RCA.
And but yeah, because I kept looking. I was again, like we were talking. Well, not to leave the rest of the audience in the dark. Growing up, my parents loved Motown, and I was telling them I knew all the songs and knew all the artists, but my dilemma was putting the artist to the songs. And I had always lumped Sam Cooke in there with that group. And when I was scrolling through all these best of Motown lists, none of his songs were popping up. And I was like, how are they leaving this dude off? And so I just Googled Sam Cooke, and I got to reading. I was like, well, hell, he was never in Motown. I was like, so for my whole life, I thought he was a Motown artist, which he wasn't.
Did you wiki that and see if he was just RCA?
I did. Well, I can locate. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it now to confirm.
Well, needless to say, the documentary is worth watching. There's a lot of cool stories that the guys just tell from their memories of being on the road with certain bands and whatnot. So check it out. Give it a shot. Give it a look and a listen.
Okay. Wes Boone, what defines a Motown
Yep,
artist then and now? I think that was the name of the label. The
I
group.
mean,
Motown.
that was exactly how you would define a Motown artist.
Yeah.
If they were signed with Motown, they were a Motown artist. I mean, the Motown sound, Berry Gordy tried to capture and keep that from going anywhere. You know, we were talking earlier about bands like the Beatles covered Motown tracks, but Berry Gordy wanted the Motown sound to stay just Motown.
I don't know. I think Wes has got something in his back pocket. He's trying to pull out on us.
Think so?
I
It could
don't
be.
know.
Wes pretty smart.
We'll see what Wes.
pretty
Wes is
smart.
well versed.
That's the first, really, even with my limited knowledge of Motown was, I always associate Smokey Robinson first. With
Absolutely.
Because I guess that's all you heard about. And what's up, Jonathan Smith?
The Temptations.
The Temptations. And Smokey Robinson, I mean, that dude can flat out sing. That dude,
Oh, yeah.
He's a bad man.
And right.
Yeah. He
And
is.
right.
He is a bad man. So that's who I always associated the Motown with. When I was young, when I was a cheerman.
A cheering?
Yeah, I always thought of him. And then as I got older, I learned about the Miracles, that he was in another group where
It was Smokey Robinson and the Miracles.
Yeah, and I was like, I guess he's got a new group. And I think my mom or my dad was like, "No, dude, that's what he was in before. Now he's just Smokey Robinson by himself." I'm like, I don't know. I'm 7.
I wasn't here.
I couldn't look it up on the internet.
You should be
'cause we didn't
impressed
have
I
the internet.
even know who that is.
I agree with that. I can't remember which one it was, but kind of talked, they belittled me. I'm like, you'll catch his hands.
It's talk like that pushes your kids into listening to devil music.
That's right.
That's it.
Here you go. Wes Boone says artists claim to be Motown sound artists that never signed. That's interesting. I wonder how many people have done that.
Oh, there's no telling.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah. There's no
I
telling.
mean, what? Why wouldn't you? I mean, if you get away with it,
That's like a hillbilly on the hill that's really a Marine.
yeah.
He's really not. He didn't serve. He didn't even make it past basic.
What?
What's with
Why are
the
you
voice?
whispering?
Oh yeah, I'm on the radio.
What's with the voice?
Well, I didn't know. I didn't know if any of them were listening that used it.
No, they're not.
That's funny.
Okay.
No, definitely not.
Watch for red
I always
dots when you leave.
associated the Temptations and Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
Like when I was little, like, and I don't mean 7, but like, I don't know, 12, 13.
Right.
I thought of Motown. I thought of Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder right off the top. Those were the first 2 people I would think of. And then the Temptations would be like, oh, yeah, oldies.
I honestly thought the Jackson 5, because I was a
absolutely.
huge Michael Jackson fan, and that's actually Michael Jackson's what started my whole deep dive into just discovery. Like if you get into when I get into an artist, and y'all know how I am. If I get into an artist, then I automatically learn everything about them, and I go through the back catalog and who they played with before. Well, when I got into Michael Jackson, it's like, oh, he used to be in a group with his brothers called the Jackson 5. Well, boom, then I started buying up all the Jackson 5, and I just remember getting that album. I bought an album at Walmart of the Jackson 5 and seen a little Motown insignia in the bottom. And then later I realized, oh, they were on the same label of all those bands that my parents like.
Motown.
Tooth, Hector.
Where's Hector? Lionel Richie was once accused of pretending he was a Motown artist,
on it.
but he really was, wasn't he? Lionel Richie was a Motown artist.
Yeah, Commodores.
He was with the Commodores first, but when he went solo, his solo albums were still under the Motown record label.
Yep. And I
Like
didn't.
Dancing on the Ceiling in 1981.
Yeah.
Motown Records.
Bam.
I didn't realize
Fact check me.
how many of course I've always associated the Motown with the 60s and
Yeah.
these in,
Me too. Yeah.
didn't realize how many hits they've had since then.
Boys to Men, bro.
Yeah, there was a whole. Well, and
Blue Line.
that should have rang a bell. But I mean, in the '80s, like the song "Night Shift." Loved the song "Night Shift." Didn't realize it was the Commodore sans Lionel Richie. I was like, oh, and because there's a whole best of Motown in the '80s on here. I was just like, wait a minute, Motown. I was going,
Motown
well, I
in the
know all
80s.
these songs too. I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't realize Rick James. He
Rick
was on-
James was
Yeah.
Motown.
Yes, sir. I got him written down here because I didn't realize that.
Rockwell. Somebody's
Rockwell was
watching
Motown?
me. Yeah.
Well, that explains why Michael
Jackson did
Well,
his
same
backup
backup.
Well,
vocals.
Rockwell, and I've gone blank, but his dad is extremely famous.
Oh, really?
I will look that up. I can't believe I went blank on that. But yeah, when I tell you who his dad is, you'll understand why he got Michael Jackson to sing on his.
And I didn't know until we were working at the gas station about 20 years ago, and we were
Yeah.
talking about who sang backup on Somebody's Watching Me, and that driver from LKQ was like, Rockwell.
Well,
Are you even breathing?
let me tell you Rockwell's real name, and then y'all can put the pieces together. His real name is Kennedy William Gordy. So who do you think his daddy is?
Burt Berry.
Wonder how Barry got Michael to sing on that track.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What about that?
Isn't that weird?
It is very weird. Very weird. Bull, who'd you associate Motown with when you were a wee little lad?
A wee little lad?
Just
Well, I mean, when
Younger, 12, 13, 7, whatever.
well, and again, still didn't have the appreciation, but now whenever I turned 18, 19, I mean, went straight to the Temptations,
Right.
and then Diana Ross, just because
Good job, Hatfield.
Her entire career up, from the 60s all the way into the 80s, and how she changed disco and all that, and the style. That was just so cool because we used so many Temptations and Commodores and Smokey Robinson, Marvin and Mandela. We used so many of those records to sample in order to make music, so it's like we're talking about just hours and hours and hours and hours of just grabbing people's mothers and fathers and grandmas' albums and their 45s and then just listening for that 20 seconds that we wanted to turn into a sample. And so, we would have parties to where we would just, everybody that made beats or that wrote or whatever, and we'd sit around listening to those old 45s, and we would recreationally do social things.
Like drink alcoholic beverages?
Recreationally and other things.
Yeah.
And so, but you're just talking about hours of just sitting there listening. And what's so great is the music was so amazing. We're sitting here trying to pull out samples to make our own song, but instead we just get wrapped up in a song where we hear that we love it, and then we start talking about a memory, like either being at a barbecue or a family member playing it or this right here, and we forgot all about it. And then next thing you know, we go 3 records later and go like, dadgummit, that one sample was so good. And it's just so many. But again, it rolls back to the Funk Brothers and that amazing style that they just come up with thanks to...
They were Motown for the...
It seems like all our conversation is going to go back to that, because now that I know it, it's crazy. It was a Motown sound, okay? But you take in like the Temptations, one of their songs, and then you go over here and you listen to Glad It's Not in the Pips, and one of their songs, they don't sound the same. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if you had AC/DC back, playing the background on both of those, it would sound the same. When you got those two guys who seemed like they catered to who they were playing for, that's what it sounded like. Still had that sound, you know what I mean? How it sounded, but the music was different.
Well, and again,
how in the world did they do that?
Well, okay, you got to remember the genius that is Berry Gordy. There were funk, there were R&B, there were blues, all up and down the joint. Right. But who are the most unique, talented artists that can play whatever? We're talking 2-time, 3-time. You know what I'm saying? Going into where you're doing a 3x3 bar beat instead of a 4x4. Right. The only people in the world that can do that are jazz people.
So to build off what he's saying right now, one of these dudes right here. Let me look at my notes. Let me look at my notes at my bass players. There was a bass player who was so good. Like, he was so good, but he played the one-finger bass. He played everything he played with one finger. Now, in this documentary, they got this dude's, like, son on, and he plays bass, and he's like, oh, I can play, and I try to play what my dad played. Now, I will use multiple fingers. He said, now, I'm going to tell you, some of what I can do with 2 fingers is hard for me to keep up with what he did with one.
Wow.
And that's what I'm saying. When you talk, just to build off what you're saying with the unique and the talent that he's looking for the artist to possess, is things of that nature. Like, if
Bob
you
Babbitt?
only play one finger, you're limiting yourself. But this guy there was no limits on him.
Patrick Ruff says, or Ryan Ruff, said Bob Babbitt.
Sure.
Yep.
I don't know.
I'm looking.
But,
I'm a guy shy here.
That was just where Berry Gordy knew that a good jazz player, he'll go from folk to funk to whatever.
Right.
What they're going to do is they're going to find the feel between the song and the singer, and they're going to bring the two together over time.
Yeah. I think it's just amazing, because I'm just still trying to process 13 dudes playing all these songs, all these number 1 hits, but nothing sounds exactly the same. You know what I mean?
Right. They just used the style and did something different. And like I said,
unreal.
Artists might come in with a song, and this is what we're looking for it to sound like. These guys would sit down, and they might be in the studio for hours on end, okay? But for those hours that they're in the studio, they're not in the studio recording and then re-recording. And they're coming up with what they're going to say is, this is it. This is what we're going to put down. And then dude pushes the record button one time, and they put the track down in one take. That was the big thing that that they were talking about on the documentary as well is how, hey, we did all this in one take. We come up with it. I might start off with this over here. Beanie might come in with the drums, and I might come in behind him with this over here. And my man over here on the guitar might come in. And then the next thing you know, it's, oh, yeah, we got it. And then let's put it down.
Well, and again, what we have to remember about these artists is back in the day that you did not have your tour agent behind the curtain going, nope, they're only paid for an hour and 42 minutes. The club owner said, you play for as long as I've paid you.
Yeah, right.
So if you run out of material with 30 minutes left, you got to continue to play or make it up, or you've got to riff out your regular songs. And so that environment of entertaining people, that is what created these amazing jam sessions and what turned into this great style of Lorman Divide together.
That's how Papa Was a Rolling Stone turned into a 12-minute song.
Man, wow. Yeah.
Well, they said in this article that I had found today, this was in Rolling Stone. I got to credit them, but it said, what is the Motown sound? And it said in its heyday in the middle 60s, it consisted of one, simply structured songs with sophisticated melodies and chord changes, which brings in your jazz musicians, a relentless 4-beat drum pattern, a gospel use of background voices, vaguely derived from the style of the Impressions, a regular and sophisticated use of both horns and strings, lead singers who are halfway between pop and gospel, and a group of accompanying musicians who are among the most dexterous, knowledgeable, and brilliant in all of popular music. And then they list all the guys that you were talking about.
I got 13 names right here.
And a trebly style of mixing that relied heavily on electronic limiting and equalizing, boosting the high range frequencies. Again, there's Bull's world. I have no clue what that means. To give the overall product a distinctive sound, particularly effective for broadcast over AM radio. So there's your list. That's what they said.
Oh my gosh. So he was mixing it to go over in a mono sound element. So therefore, I didn't even know that. That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I also didn't realize,
is what it is.
And they may have talked about this in your documentary, but from 64 to 67,
What's up, Brigman?
everything that was put out was produced by two guys. Eddie Holland and Lamont Dozier.
Yeah.
They began with the Supremes, and after that, they had unprecedented success for the next 3 years until they left to pursue other endeavors.
Wow.
Yeah, and everybody out there in Radio Land listening, y'all have no clue the decades of work that has went into understanding the psychology of what it is to make you love a song. And I mean, there's Berry Gordy tapping into it in the very beginning, specifically going after AM radio and mixing the track all the way down to that. I mean, these conversations go on all day, like in regards, and I mean, I'll just go ahead and tell you, white people dance to the guitar. That's why you have more guitar in a lot of songs.
Dave Chappelle proved that.
Oh, he did.
John Mayer come on and show us how it worked.
That's right.
And then he went to a different neighborhood and did some drums, and I mean, he proved it. That's proof positive.
All about that. He
and
did.
you can fact check me because guess what's on Netflix now?
Chappelle.
That's right.
Except for the episode with Ron Jeremy, they pulled that one.
And rightfully so.
Well, he's facing 330 years in prison.
What I didn't. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, that's for a different day. But
Wow.
yeah, right.
Hey,
Could you not look at the guy and not figure out he was a scumbag years ago, though?
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Guys, Ryan just tuned in. Can we send a shout out for him and Rebecca? I hope they're doing well.
Hope you
Yes.
guys are doing much better.
Let's get that baby out.
Let's have us a baby.
Come on.
I want to be a godfather
You
to
look like
this
you
to
got-
this young French. You could just, I mean, we don't have to make it official, but I mean, when I meet this baby, I'm going to tell this baby, I'm Tooth. There's a beer named after me, and I'm your godfather. As long as we can all just back that up, that'd be cool.
Run with it.
Okay.
I
If
mean,
I have to meet that child, I'm going to say I'm Bradley, and you're very fortunate because I am not.
But I know him, and he's a good guy. They call him Tooth.
now, Ryan Ruffman goes talk about that Bob Babbitt fella. He was in the Funk Brothers, played the bass lick, and signed, sealed, delivered by Stevie Wonder.
I read where he wrote that, but I'm just telling you, unless there's another name that I don't have, I've got 13 names here of the originals. And Bob Babbitt was not in the 13 originals.
He said, watch some of the Battle of the Bands on YouTube, Four Tops with Levi Stokes versus David Ruffian and the Temptations. Unbelievable. Sounds pretty cool, really.
That is kind of
Yeah,
David
awesome.
Ruffin, that was a name I couldn't think of. That's
Was
the
that
lead
it?
singer.
Okay.
Yeah. David Ruffin was a mean man.
Eddie Bongo Brown played the bongos, played the conga drums, and brought kind of a Latin element, but was renowned for his skill. Like, it was phenomenal. And I always have joked, guys. I mean, I really have joked my whole life about instruments such as the tambourine or the maracas.
And the triangle.
But can I just tell you, I watched dude Jack Ashford last night on this documentary while I was rewatching it. This man did things with a tambourine that I didn't know you could. I thought a tambourine was pretty much, okay, here's some cymbals.
Well, you've just seen white hippie girls do it.
We've seen Davy Jones from the Monkees. That's all we've
This
seen.
guy was like, it was, imagine Eddie Van Halen shredding on the guitar. Picture this guy doing the same thing to a tambourine.
That's pretty impressive.
It was, dude, I promise you, it was ridiculous. I'm like, what is he doing? But, and that's how that noise happened.
Okay. Well,
I'll be darned.
That's where that came from.
It was really neat, man.
The Tooth Father is what Ryan said.
Oh, the Tooth Father.
Yes, I like it. I like it a lot.
You know, one thing about Motown, as we're discussing the sound that I've always, and this is, I've never tried to put it into words until I was thinking about this today for the show, but like all of their songs, they have a positive quality to them, where it's even the songs that are about heartbreak and whatnot are still, if you put it on at a party and no one's paying attention to the lyrics, they're still upbeat and kind of get everybody smiling and bouncing around.
You're still going to dance to it.
But that was all under Barry Gordy's design. He had
America's music.
He had a very tough road that he had a gap he was trying to bridge, because at the time, all black music was R&B and white music was pop, and it could never cross over. So we were talking about this earlier. One of the things that he did was they made their music in a specific style to where it felt like that pop. Mm-hmm. They brought a lot more of the pop element in, but like you said, a lot of these people learn how to sing in the church and in the juke joint. So, but Barry Gordy, he made sure that there were no artist faces on any of the record covers when they released. So they just saw the name of the band and it felt like something that should be on the radio. And he had the first crossovers, which led to,
because that way when these tracks and cuts was hitting the radio stations back then, especially back then in the height of segregation.
Because we got to remember, this is the 60s. There was white bathrooms and black bathrooms.
So then the height of
even
segregation,
in the North.
When you went to the radio station with your album, with your record, with your single, with whatever, if they knew up front at this white radio station that it was a black artist, they would automatically, in some instances, they would lean towards not playing it because of that. Exactly.
In all instances.
Yeah.
Well, there's got to be the first one somewhere. So I'm going to say in most instances, just to be correct. But that's exactly right, Bull. You're exactly right. So with what you just said, with what Barry Gordy designed is, hey, we don't want any faces. We want a name and with some good music so that they don't have any reason to pass us over. Oh, this looks like it should be on the radio. Let me play this song. Oh, this is beautiful. And it became a hit. Everything became a hit on Motown. Motown's got some of the most hits ever.
Well, you know, and that's, and again, this shouldn't be the case anyway, but I was saying earlier, growing up, my mom and dad, they loved Motown. And I just remember being a kid and hearing that stuff on the radio. It never dawned on me that these were white or black people singing. It wasn't until I got much older that I realized, whoa, Motown was basically was 100% African American,
except for one guitar player.
Joe Messina, who was in the original 13 Funk Brothers, is as white as the day is long, and is an epic guitarist, and is known for playing with the Funk Brothers for the beginning of time. But you're right. I mean, predominantly it is black music.
But when you hear those songs on the radio, you don't automatically go, "Oh, black artist." It was just, man, this is good.
It was built for that purpose.
And you don't. and I'm trying to, of course, a white guy in the South, I'm trying to say this without sounding like an a-hole, but you just don't hear it. You're just not going, because you can pick it up. You're like, they're R&B. It's obvious. A lot of times when you hear R&B, you can just tell, all right, I know who's singing that. But you hear those Motown songs, and it's just,
I think it's great to listen to some of these artists. For instance, listen to Stevie when Stevie started making music, and then listen to Stevie in the 80s. Just the progression of it. His voice has always been beautiful, but the progression of a voice, like what was there when you're younger that maybe not ain't there when you're older, even though you still sound great. Because I was listening to some old Stevie tonight, and dude could get some places.
Yeah.
And had some soul. Get over it, bull. I tried that earlier, and you still made me move.
Just forget it.
My dad was. I can remember my dad telling this. It was it's kind of funny, but he has two older sisters, and he can remember one of his sisters talking about this little blind black kid that she saw on TV that could sing his rear end off, and which turned out to be Stevie Wonder. Of course, when he was a little kid, he'd just get on and sing, and then as he got older, he became Stevie Wonder.
Right.
So that's the first time everybody's his sisters seeing some little blind kid on TV talking about how good he can sing.
Yeah, they call it Little Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Sing so little now.
One
It's bad.
of the guys in the Funk Brothers last night was talking about Stevie when he was young, and he said Stevie was younger, so he liked to hang out with the guys. Like he really enjoyed hanging out with the older guys because he was a young boy, and he would come in there and he would hang out with the guys. And one day he said he come over. He said, I really like the way you play. I like the way your keys was sounding, and Stevie says this to the guy playing the keys in the studio, and Stevie sits down beside him and is watching him play a little bit, and he picks up one or two, and here old dude's thinking, oh, I'm teaching Stevie how to, a method, a style. And then he's like, and then a year later I hear such and such, and I'm like, I didn't show that boy nothing. I didn't show him nothing. He was teasing me. And I thought that was hilarious, man, because he would make them old cats feel good, and he had some skill, as we all know. He has some skill. He could play the keys. I mean, like nobody's business. But it was just funny to hear some of the stories these old guys tell, just to hear them tell it.
Well, God, can you imagine what they
feel it?
Oh my God.
Can you imagine the time they were living in and doing what they were doing, the stuff, the good and the bad they saw? I mean, they saw everything.
Well, and again, that's one of the things that I love to highlight is the obstacles that was overcome during this time, and the way the music was built, because that's one of the things that always amazed me the further I progressed in the music industry, was just how much work went into creating something just for me, or how much work went into something creating it just for everybody. And that's like that tidbit about the way they were mixing. Like, I completely hear it and understand it and get it. And even like you talking about, like, I had no clue what the color was. And even somebody was talking about on the show here a minute ago, they can definitely tell what color people on this show are. And so there's no question about that.
Right.
Shit, what's he trying to say?
But
what's he trying to say? We got country accent?
I think that he was trying to make a statement.
Yeah.
I watched his car burn down. How you like that?
But we think about that music, right? And we think about, like you're talking about, whenever you hear the music, it's just a good time. But when they walked out of their door, it was white only, black only. It was during the Detroit riots.
Hey, speaking of the riots,
yes,
thank you for bringing that up. This is no joke. This is a true story. The Detroit riots start happening. Some of these cats are in the snake pit. They don't know that anything is going on outside because they're in the basement doing some recordings.
And elaborate to them what got burnt down and how close it was to?
Everything, dude. Everything.
Detroit got burnt down.
Seriously, that was they were in one of the only standing buildings in that area when they came out. And there's some old pictures, and these guys are literally trucking it to get to a vehicle, and there is action going on in the streets.
There's still to this day,
they're just trying to
nothing across the street.
Yeah, nothing across the street at all. You're exactly
Can
right.
you imagine walking out and you're just going, what did I miss?
Yeah.
It's like, good Lord.
And when Bull says across the street, I mean,
it's literally.
imagine standing at the end of your driveway, Travis, where it starts at the road, and going across the street.
That's how close it was.
That's how close.
They just had respect out of Motown. They didn't burn that or loot that, or
You can assume, but I don't know.
I don't know. I would hope.
Like I said, dudes come out not knowing what was going on. They get to the floor level, come out the front door of Hitsville, USA, and they are in the midst of what is happening and already happened, and they're just trying to make it to their car before. And like I said earlier, you've got black guys and white. You got Joe Messina coming out with these guys, and they're all just trying to get to their car.
Been like, I'll be back in the basement.
Yeah, you were talking about. I don't know if you when I was outside that when they would play these shows, there would be. The left side would be, have the whites and right side.
It was segregated.
In the South.
Yeah, it was segregated.
In the South,
And
it
they
was
had ropes
segregated. There was a rope and
police officers. And the white guy would stand in the middle and play. And he's in the South.
Bro, it's like watching Green Book if you haven't watched it.
Playing between, two black guys and not giving a crap. And apparently the audience isn't either because they're enjoying.
I believe he was a little on edge.
Yeah, well, yeah, but he still played.
Well, like I said,
he still played.
I don't know the travel arrangements of all of it. I don't have all those facts, honestly, but I know that for a while in the beginning, there was still some traveling going on. And I know that in the music industry, there was a story told last night where he was like, they would, look at the Oreo section, and he would be talking about these two guitarists and Joe Messina, who was between these two great guitarists. Right. And it's just, it is astounding to know that was all going on while they were in the basement recording some music.
It's ridiculous.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, we're talking about the Detroit Riots. If you aren't familiar,
do some research.
Well, and if you're lazy, watch the movie Detroit. There we go. If you're late, you can either do some research or just watch Detroit.
We'll catch up some comments right quick. Let's see. Hector, he says the music transcended racial lines for sure. Culturally, too, Hector also said many foreign artists recorded Motown songs in their native languages. That's pretty cool. That's really cool. Jimmy, he's Motown still influencing in the world worldwide even today. I give that. Artie Armand said, Armand, I was a DJ in the '60s. We didn't call music white or black. It's just music. That's true. It's just music. That's what it is.
And if he was a DJ, he'd know more than us. Thank you, Artie.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. That's for sure.
I like DJs.
Yeah. DJ Qualls and. No? Okay.
DJ Kano.
DJ Kano. Like DJ Request.
Hey, Artie, if you were a DJ, give us some more of that juicy knowledge there in the comments.
Yeah, I'd be some good stuff there.
So, just moving on for a minute. So we've done a lot of we've talked a lot about some facts and a lot about some history. So, what's some of your favorites? Like, I will start and tell you my favorite Motown song is going to be "Easy" by the Commodores. It just is. I love it. I've always loved it. If anything, that's probably one of those songs that, hey, this is Motown Records. Let me go do some more. Let me learn more about Motown after listening to the Commodores and some of the songs. That's my all-time favorite, even though it was later in Motown's life. In the beginning, like the Temptations is probably my all-time favorite Motown group, and they have several songs that I would put on my favorites. Papa Was a Rolling Stone being one of them.
Man.
Bradley, what say you? Do you have any favorites from your childhood? You were talking about your mom and dad used to listen in the kitchen, and
oh man, let's see. I'm just scrolling through all the Motown essentials.
Well, we know
right
Bradley's
now.
main favorites. It's Raining Men, but I don't.
Absolutely. But that goes without saying. But I'll get to repeating myself. We don't need to say that one. I can't help myself by the Four Tops. That's one. Big fan. God, I'm just scrolling. Honestly, I could just start reading off this whole list because all of this reminds me of, again, being a kid.
But what are you like? There's got to be a favorite or a few favorites because there's some. I was listening to. I've been doing homework for this for like a week now.
Yeah.
So for like three of the last 5 days, I've listened to a Spotify Motown list. And there's more than one, but I've listened to a couple different ones. And there's songs that I remember after they go, oh, yeah, I know this, that I don't like.
Yeah.
So, like, where are your favorite? Like, top. What's your favorite?
Ain't Too Proud to Beg is my all-time
There you go.
favorite by the Temptations. And I tell you what, if anybody wants to get a kind of to just first dive into Motown, there's a movie called The Big Chill, which this is not a movie episode, but excellent movie. It's the first movie with Tom Berenger, golly, Glenn Close. I mean, there's a ton of young celebrities, Jeff Goldblum, but the Motown or the Big Chill soundtrack. My parents used to own that, and that was probably the first cassette of theirs of my parents' music that I snagged and would listen to, and that's what really got me into diving into Motown and picking up on those artists. But I just remember Ain't Too Proud to Beg, which is a great song anyway. But there's a scene in that movie, and I'm always, when I hear this song, I immediately think of that scene. They're doing the dishes after one of their big meals, and that song comes on, and they're just all dancing, or kind of like, it just makes me think about hanging out with my buddies too. Of course, different kind of music, but they're all dancing around, singing the song together, doing the dishes, and just having a big time with good friends. And I mean, if you had to pick one of my favorite Motown songs, it'd be that one.
Well, I'm glad you picked that one, because I want you to know that if you, and I think you will, Bradley, watch Standing in the Shadows of Motown, Montel Jordan and Shaka Khan do Ain't Too Proud to Beg.
Oh, really?
It is awesome.
Oh, I bet
It is awesome.
Yeah. Brian Chardonnay, I'm sorry, I butchered your last name. Ain't No Mountain High Enough's his favorite.
Good one.
And that's what
very
I
good
meant.
one.
I just got really stupid. Ain't No Mountain High Enough's the one Montel and Shaka Khan do.
Okay.
Not Ain't Too Proud to Beg.
Right.
Sorry. But it's still really good.
Bull, what's your favorite?
Yeah, Bull.
Oh my God! Wait a minute, Mr. Postman. I mean, the Marvelettes. I mean, we were just sitting there talking about that earlier. I mean, one of the godmothers, of the entire label and the foundation of Diana Ross. Again, I mean, Papa was a Rolling Stone. You got to go there. Say You, Say Me.
Good one.
Okay, let's go to our decade. End of the Road, Boys to Men.
Oh man, that's my breakup song in middle school, baby. Man, Boomerang.
What was that? I want to get close to you. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. I mean, it's hard for me to find bad music that I like from that era.
Yeah, Mr. Postman, that's a great song. I mean, because you remember they had the infomercials of Motown classics on TV in the mornings when you get ready for school, and that's where I learned a lot of the Motown songs that I like Mr. Postman. I remember seeing the clip of them singing. It was in black and white, and then they flashed the blue screen 1-800 blah 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 whatever. That's how I learned what that song was.
I'll tell you a song that I search often enough that Apple Music just adds it to my favorites. I don't even have to search for it anymore. But Easy. I mean, I love that song. I love that song to this day, regardless if it's Motown or what. It's just a great song. Lionel Richie's awesome on that one. And
Where you been?
Faith No More's
Did the greatest cover ever.
Faith No More's cover of that is I can listen to both of them back to back and be content.
I do.
Yep.
I have them in line on my playlist.
I did a minute ago. Listen to "Lady" by Kenny Rogers.
Yep.
And then which Lionel Richie wrote.
Right.
And then I listened to the duet with him and Lionel Richie together, just back to back. I was like, man, it was different but good.
In the last, I don't know, I guess probably the last 3 or 4 years, a buddy of mine in Murfreesboro, I found out he was a huge Lionel Richie fan. Mm-hmm. And just being a music geek like I am, I'd just walk by him and just drop a Lionel Richie lyric. I'd work it into our conversation just to see if he'd pick up on it. But that got me back into. I listened to Lionel Richie, his solo stuff on a regular basis nowadays too. Just because, again,
you should anyway.
You just forget how many great songs that dude alone, solo and with the Commodores, had.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's put it into perspective. So, a lot of you in Radio Land, y'all don't understand the expense and how cumbersome it was to create a record. Motown had almost 80 top 10 Billboard hits in 9 years. 80.
That's a lot.
In 9 years. I mean, some labels.
Math that too.
I mean, once again,
Well, 9 would go into 81 9 times, so it's real close to that. That's like 9 a year.
That's I mean, seriously, that's a lot.
Especially that era. If you think about all the other non-Motown artists, legends that were performing in that era, I mean, to get 9 a year is
absolutely
that's phenomenal.
it is ridiculous.
The Isley Brothers is so hard of mine. I don't know what I was thinking. I forgot. I almost
that's
forgot
a good
about
one.
that.
Yeah, you said their name right before we come on the air.
There you go.
Yeah. I'll get some comments here. Hector, his favorite is Smokey, Just to See You. Jimmy Newton, Midnight Train to Georgia. Yvette Battles, Midnight Train to Georgia. Jennifer Griffin West, Mercy Me, Marvin Gaye, Wish It Would Rain, The Temptations.
Mm-hmm.
Wish It Would Rain.
Just my imagination, the Temptations. Ooh,
Said Night Shift, first really big hit without Lionel from the Commodores.
I love that song. That's just I listened to it on my way here just because it's like I want to hear that song.
I love it.
Mine was, and I'm embarrassed, and I'm going to embarrass myself even more when I get done, which is this is the mind blowing fact about the Commodores and me. But my first Etta James at last. Man,
Ooh, the pipes on her, son. The
Etta
pipes.
is just.
and I'm gonna tell you what, she was pretty easy on the eyes. I'm getting cold.
I'm getting the chicken skin.
I'm telling you, man, Etta was just so much. Oh, she was so much soul and love and sadness. Oh my
She
God.
empowered all of the emotions when she sang. Bro.
Hey, what was you gonna say, Brett?
I was just going to say what's amazing most of the time when we do this, people start throwing songs out, and 90% of them I'm in. But there's always, every once in a while, I'm going to leave that be. I'm not going to roll my eyes. I'm going to offend the listeners. But there's not been one bad. Every song that has been named this far, I'm like, God, I want to listen to that.
Yeah.
Oh God, I forgot about that one. I want to listen to that one. Next. No, this one's next.
That's because they're listing Motown songs, bro.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Bradley's not texting on his phone. He's adding Motown songs to his playlist.
Yes, that's what I'm over here doing. No, I'm not done that.
Everybody, if you're not doing it now, add them to your playlist.
Yes, but Etta James at last. I mean, like I said, she's easy on the eyes, and that chick. I mean, she sang. She used her whole body to sing. I mean, that was coming from her toes everywhere. But another one that I just realized I liked that I didn't know, and it's embarrassing. But I've heard of the Temptations. You know, My Girl. You've heard that song a million times. If you're our age, you have.
Well, yeah.
If you're our parents, you've heard it, 2 million times. So I was scrolling through a couple weeks ago. Papa Was Rolling Stone. I saw it, and I was like, well, I've heard of this song, but I never heard the song. So I'm going to check this out, because I do myself some justice and listen to this song. So I hit it, it's a little groovy tune, 4-minute intro. Like, oh my God, man. And I'm sitting there driving on the road, I'm just bobbing my head. I'm like, it's pretty good. Is this an instrumental? So I get what in the world? And then they start singing, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is it. This like a 3-minute outro, just instrumental. But that song right there, dude, as I listened to it at work today, I was in the back helping the girl do returns, and I had my phone on my pocket, and I had that song going. And she's like, what are you listening to? She's a little bit older than me. She's like, what are you listening to? And I was like, it's, Papa Was Rolling Stone. She goes, I thought that's what that was. She's heard the instrumental part, but the whole time I'm just like, yes, where has this song been? And that's my fault for not, I've heard
Where has this song been?
Yep.
In the archives, Dick. In the archives.
Where have I been?
Where have you been?
Not in the archives.
Get out of the rock.
Yeah. Well, get out of the rock. But I will,
Rest in peace.
I will tell you, about the Commodores. So I knew about Lionel Richie and the Commodores. And I've heard Easy. I heard 3 Times a Lady, and I heard Brick House. Now, Brick House I knew was the Commodores. I didn't know Easy and 3 Times a Lady was the Commodores. I thought it was just Lionel Richie. Because when I was a kid, and on Saturdays when we clean the house, at my dad's house, he always throw a record on, or my stepmom one. Usually, like, she loved Lionel Richie, so it was like Lionel Richie. Or some days it was Chicago, and then it would be Michael Jackson, whatever. But we always did the Lionel Richie like every Saturday, and it was easy. So I was like, "Hey, who sings this?" And I guess just for me to put 2 and 2 together, they just said Lionel Richie. They didn't tell me the Commodores.
Because at this time, Lionel Richie was a solo artist.
Yeah, at my age, he was out of the Commodores.
And in all fairness, I mean, nowadays, if you just pulled up, like, again, on any of these Spotify or Apple Music, and you just pulled up Lionel Richie, and, you know, how they'll just list you like all the famous, Easy will pop up on there. And so it's
But
not.
Travis was what, 7, 8, 9 years old. So Lionel Richie was already a solo artist when he's asking the question.
Yeah, because I knew Dancing on the Ceiling, and you
So
know,
to make it easy for you to be like, oh, I know who this is, they just told you it's Lionel Richie.
yeah, they just still said the Commodore, so it wasn't till
They didn't know you'd be playing trivia in 2020, and you would need to know.
right. It wasn't till
You'd be a famous radio show host, and you'd have to know this crap.
still ain't happened. So I was today years old when I found out that the Commodore sang those songs. Not Lionel. I mean, Lionel physically sang them, but he was part of the Commodores when those songs came out. And I feel completely embarrassed that I did not know that.
No shame, bro.
It's just
We learn something every day.
it's just weird. I knew like every word to both of those songs, but I didn't know, you know. And it's embarrassing.
This is one that I immediately stopped on. I was scrolling through and going, oh yeah, good one, good one. But Reflections, Diana Ross and another one. That's one. If it comes on the radio, you turn it up.
Yes.
For me, that's to sing it loud, put the windows down. Good song.
Do You Love Me? The Contours.
Travis,
That I Can
talk to
Dance.
Artie for a minute. He's giving us that knowledge.
He said Lionel Richie doesn't sing Brick House.
And he also talks about an instrumentation.
Oh yeah, listen to the instrumentation of Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. If you can wait, if you can, what?
If you can want.
If you can want, that's the name of the song. That's a weird title. 1968, Much Overlooked Song.
Bradley, for your list.
Do what now?
If you can want.
Oh, gotcha.
1968.
I was sitting over thinking about Rob Zombie's cover of Brick.
Oh man. Oh, so when you say "Do You Love Me," I'm thinking Kiss.
No, I'm talking about Do You Love Me?
Do you love me? No, I didn't.
Now that
And that's another
I can-
thing that's
the
embarrassing.
Contours.
Watch me now.
It is I hear and when I got to researching it, I'm like, oh, I know that song. I didn't know it was Motown. I know that song. I know that song. I know that song. I didn't know it was a Motown song. You know what I mean? Because I'm an idiot, I guess. I don't really know, but it is kind of embarrassing as much as I really love music. But at the same time, I'm at Jakku Park in '99, and Styx starts playing Hangman, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know they played Hangman. And there I'm singing every word to every song, air guitar and every lick. You know, what they sing this song? So, and that's my fault for. I mean, at least I enjoy the music, but I wish I would have researched and figured out that. Hey, I did know that song was Motown. I'm a moron.
There's a lot of good stuff out there, man. Got plenty of
Well,
time.
I'm glad people don't, because we wouldn't have our show.
That's true.
Hey, and that's why that's why I love this and folks like y'all who are into music, because I mean this has just opened me up to my next month of listening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I knew it existed and I knew I liked it. I've been off my own little niche, and now I can tell you what will be on my playlist for the next several days, weeks, or months.
I've got Spotify and Apple list on both so far. Big House of the Dirty Dancing song.
Do
Is it Motown? The Time of My Life?
No, I think he was talking about what I was singing, Do You Love Me?
That is on Dirty
It's in
Dancing,
Dirty
isn't it?
Dancing.
Johnny Castle.
Well, and again, it's not Motown, but I still do it to this day. I'll roll up to the gas station with Ray Charles bumping like a mug. I mean, I'm rocking it out.
Oh,
and
now-
Marvin Gaye, like, oh man.
Oh, no. Now, if I'm walking through the store and Superstitious comes on, I'm playing that
that's a
bass.
good one.
I'm slapping the bass, son.
Slapping the bass, man.
Oh, man, that's a killer song.
And again, that's that one finger bass man.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us what other song you got on your list that people need to check out from the Motown?
Well,
Because you've got a substantial.
Well, I mean, most of them I'm sure everybody's already heard of. I mean, we were talking about Dancing in the Street earlier with Martha and the Vandellas. You've Really Got a Hold on Me. That's another classic
That's a
that we
good
haven't
one.
mentioned yet. Stop in the Name of Love. We hadn't talked about any Supremes music really.
Oh, God,
wow.
no.
And the Supremes were huge. Just because you're asking me to fill in, so I'm filling in. Travis.
What was it?
Yeah.
What about the Four Tops?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Not even
There's
mentioned
one
yet.
we haven't mentioned, and it was the breakout song for Martha and the Marvelettes, and I can't remember, but Smokey Robinson wrote it. Artie, help us out. The breakout song for Martha and the Marvelettes. It was written by Smokey Robinson. It was an upbeat song.
Oh, let's see. The Marvelettes. We got Don't Mess with Bill.
Well, keep on going, Tooth, while we're finding that.
Well, so I don't know. Did we talk about Rick James being Motown? Yeah,
Heat Wave.
we brought that up.
I think we did before the show started.
No, that's not them.
No, that's Martha and the Van.
Yeah, and
you're right.
I didn't know that Rick James was until today. I was today years old.
Today
Mr.
years old.
Postman.
And
Postman, was it? Nope, I'm sorry, keep going.
and he had some killer songs, you know. I mean, Rick James.
Well, you have mentioned Marvin Gaye, and Marvin Gaye had numerous.
Oh, that dude could.
You're all I need to get by. I mean,
That dude could sing. Good Lord.
Talk about the Marvelettes. That's what you're trying to figure out their first.
It was their breakout song, the
their
very
breakout
first
song.
one, written by Smokey Robinson. It's
Mr.
killing me.
Postman was the biggest one that I.
Barrett Strong was what I was talking about earlier. That I didn't know Barrett Strong sang "Money, That's What I Want," but Barrett Strong sings "Money, That's What I Want." I only knew the Beatles version, but the Beatles, as I was talking earlier in the documentary, it talks about the Tamla Motown UK review, and the British were really into the Motown scene to the point of the Beatles covered some Motown tracks.
Wasn't the Reverend Al Green? He was Motown. I mean, you got to love that Reverend.
Oh, Edwin Starr. We hadn't mentioned War. I thought it was George Clinton and the P-Funk
Good
All-Stars.
That's a killer song.
So I learned that today.
Yvette, she says, "Ain't no woman like the one I got" by the Four Tops.
There you go.
Sing it for us, Yvette, and then send that audio in.
Jack, I'll be there. Jackson 5. That's one of my favorites. Just to hear Michael hit those high notes, they come on the radio the other day, and man, I was wearing it out.
You're talking about the Marvelettes, correct?
Yep.
Mr. Postman is the debut single by the Marvelettes for the Motown label.
Okay, so it was Postman.
Notable is the first Motown song to reach the #1 position on the Billboard Hot 100 Pop Singles chart.
Okay. Well, already he just chimed in with Heat Wave as well. I can't remember which one.
Martha Reeves and the
Heat Wave
Vandells. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what he just said.
I'm in your head and cheating off your notes.
It's not the same band. Two different people.
Got you. Okay.
Martha and the
Vandellas.
Vandellas. Or I think it's Vandellas. but whatever.
Vandellas is
Oh,
correct.
it's
Yeah,
right
Vandellas.
there. Already wrote it.
So how do you like them apples?
You know, and that's the thing with Motown's. You know, we talk about Boys to Men being Motown. We wouldn't have Boys to Men if it wasn't for Motown Records, and that was when I was in high school. Boys to Men was my jam. You know, I loved Boys to Men. I went to concert, MTSU, sang it all the time.
Every high school dance, middle school dance.
Oh man, yeah, that was.
Wasn't Belle Biv DeVoe? Or did he just produce Boys to Men? 'Cause-
I
know.
think Belle Biv DeVoe was oh gosh, that's
but Michael Bivins or whatever, wasn't he the producer for Boys to the
think
first
so.
Boys to Men
yeah, Bivens
album?
was a producer for it.
So he was just a producer for Motown.
Yeah, because I think Belle Biv DeVoe was oh gosh, not bad.
You got the Google machine over there.
Oh, I know, but I should know this. I'm stuck in Motown mode right now. I'm stuck in the 60s.
Then you think we wouldn't, the younger girls of our generation, they wouldn't have NKOTB without Motown. You wouldn't have New Kids on the Block. You wouldn't have NSYNC, Backstreet Boys. I mean, yeah, it's not our ideal music, but I mean those guys made a pretty good living, and a lot of people like their songs. They would never existed without them.
Well, I'll have to say, and all jokes aside, I miss that kind of music. Like that's not popular at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you call that kind of pop music, R&B music?
pop.
But I miss that the actual pop band, the harmonizing, the group,
The harmonizing,
the
yes.
pop group. I miss that. It's all about individuals, which is okay too. But
No, it is not okay.
But I
It
miss,
is not okay.
the Boys to Men's and
Yeah.
the New Editions and
Yeah.
that I miss that.
Dude, New Edition, I
There was a
love New
lot of that. Forever My Lady, who was that Jodeci.
Jodeci.
There's a lot of that when we were in junior high school. I missed that. I liked that kind of music to
Well,
go
but
along with my.
It's in all genres though.
Yeah.
And it was all come from that production era of bringing that church into the studio, the gospel element.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember when we were in Fame recording, and again, that's what the guys, they wanted to track, and it was all solo. And I was like, man, we got 4 guys in the studio that can sing, and there's only one doing it. Like, let's get some more. I mean, harmonies is dead, and multiple people, and luckily, folk and bluegrass is really bringing it back hard. And that's the only reason why I'm on a lot of that new crossover bluegrass, is because of the amazing harmonies and the way they go in on it. I absolutely love that. I love that.
Yvette, she says 98 Degrees was part of Motown in the 90s.
I did not know that.
I did not know that.
Nick
Yvette.
well, that's what the lady at work was telling me today. She's like, yeah, I think 98 Degrees. I'm like, no, they weren't.
I had no idea.
I didn't either.
The originals. I forgot to mention the originals when we were listing off bands and groups. But the originals were a big part of Motown. They were a group within themselves, but they also became like the biggest, most sought after group of backup singers for Motown recordings. But they had their own stuff. They got their own music, but they were also really sought after to be like, oh, you want to get some backup singers? You need the originals on your track. You know what I'm saying? They were sought after.
I did not know that. I don't know what's some of the.
It's worth a Google.
It's worth a Google.
I
Okay,
mean, it's worth a Google.
The originals.
The originals. Baby, I'm for reals. The off the top of my head, and it's the first thing that popped up. So
Look at there. Shout out to Artie, since it is about what's
Yeah,
this?
Artie says, I was in Vietnam, 68 to 69. Armed Forces Radio kept us going. Good Morning Vietnam's got a good soundtrack. Yes, it does.
it's got an excellent soundtrack.
That's a good movie right there.
and that is a classic good movie.
And thank you for your service.
Good morning, Vietnam.
We used to watch that movie all the time at Eli's house because Eli's dad was in Vietnam. And he would try to, tell us, yeah, it was kind of like that when I was there. Yeah, no, it wasn't like that when I was there. And just having to watch it and kind of relive, which is pretty neat now that I think about it, going back. Yvette says Mr. Telephone Man by New Edition.
What?
What?
I did not know that either.
Mr. Telephone Man by New Edition. So that's a good one.
Yvette, why weren't you on this show?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yvette.
Yvette, why aren't you on the show? I don't need to even be here.
Hey, you do got all these notes. You better start talking.
I've talked about all these notes.
You have. I've hit most of mine. But I think we need to go back to the Edwin Starr War. Now, that song, I've heard this song 100 times, million times, whatever. And I never really knew who sung it. And Tooth said he always thought it was like George Clinton, P-Funk. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I guess that's who I thought it was too. I just didn't. Just throw your phone down. That's fine.
I'll put that there.
Other than Jackie Chan singing it, in Rush Hour or whatever. But I didn't know that guy was Motown, and that's one of my favorite songs from the 70s. I guess it was from 70s, 60s, 70s,
I want
whenever
to say
it
it
was
was
released.
like 69.
Was it? And a half.
Just throwing it out there.
And a half. But that's a good song, good tune. My microphone's come loose. Here we go.
Did it come loose?
It did come loose.
Dead air. Dead air.
I'm reading.
Oh.
I'm reading. Yeah, but Edwin Starr, if y'all have never heard that song.
1970, I lose.
Got him.
He probably started it in 69.
He probably did. He wrote it in 69.
It didn't chart till the 70s.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah, definitely check out Edwin Starr War. That's a good tune right there.
Classic tune.
Absolute classic.
That's absolute classic.
Yeah. Let's see. Little Richard. Oh, Tooth, you are instrumental to tonight's show.
Oh, thanks.
So Hector.
I like the way he puts really good things together.
He is a wordsmith.
I like him.
He's a worker of words.
He works the words.
I think he's a writer. Really
He
sure.
may be.
But Little Richard, of course, he lived down the road here from us.
In Lynchburg, Tennessee.
Till he passed away earlier this year. He banked at Coffee County Bank here in town. Saw him around town all the time. Funny story about Little Richard. I'm on my way to a Metallica concert in 2004. We are traffic jam, and it was me, my first wife, Craig, and Stephanie.
Craig and them.
Craig and him.
Craig and
Okay.
him.
Craig and him. So we're sitting in a traffic jam when we're in my 99 Corolla, I think I have. Sitting there, I'm like, oh man, this traffic sucks. I'm
The
ready to.
maroon one.
Yeah, the one you put the wheel
I
bearing in
put the
for.
wheel bearing in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh man, I'm itching to get to the Bridgestone Arena, and we're sitting there in the traffic. I'm like, oh, we're looking around, and we see this limo start to creep up. We're like, oh, dude, check it out, it's a limo. And then all of a sudden, the back window rolls down, and this head comes out, and these big old eyeballs start looking around, and just looking at everybody. Hey, what y'all doing? And I think it was Craig, or I think it was Craig or Jessica. They turn and look, and they see little Richard, and scared the daylights out of him. What the? And this little Richard, he's got those big old eyes, and he's just looking around, and he goes, "Hey!" And he waved like that, and it scared him. And I'm
That's Craig. He was terrified.
dying laughing at him. But I guess he was on his way to the Metallica show.
Probably.
I mean, why not? I thought that was pretty cool. But
Where I would have been going.
yeah.
Here's one I didn't realize was a Motown song, but Let It Whip by the Daz Band.
The Daz Band. Yes, the Daz Band. Let it whip.
Look here, if I go to a nightclub and that song is not being played, I will leave.
Daz Band. And it's when you look at it for real, when you look at it, it doesn't say the, it just says Daz Band. D-A-Z-Z Band.
I did not realize that DeBarge was a Motown band.
I did.
Now, doesn't Utopia? They cover "Let It Whip." I
They
believe.
cover Let It Whip.
Yeah.
And they get down.
And I'm gonna tell you, you don't hear some good covers of some Motown stuff. Go watch Utopia and concert.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I concur.
Those guys kill it.
Man, the band Travis Clower had for a couple years.
Oh, yeah. I still follow them on Facebook. Can't remember the name of them. Yeah, they're great.
They
Wonderful.
were, and they loved getting down on Motown. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you cannot.
Artie, you're correct. Bruce Springsteen does do War also.
I've never heard his rendition of War.
Bruce Springsteen does anything he
Oh,
wants.
man, What Becomes of the Brokenhearted? That's a great one.
What becomes of the broken hearted? Yeah,
We should go on tour.
I should
Y'all
be on
should
tour.
not go on tour.
You don't think we should go on tour?
No.
Oh man, come on.
Well, I think you're a hater.
I think it's
I'm a realist.
You're really hating.
yeah, jerk. Man. Let's
I'm
see.
the songbird of our generation, bull. What are you talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Become of
Got
the
those, got
broken
those.
hearted.
We just lost 20 viewers.
Absolutely. We have
Ah,
20.
it's Tuesday.
We only had 20.
Nobody's keeping up the rating. Nobody's keeping up the ratings tonight. Y'all lost that many when you announced I was coming on.
Well, that's true. That's very true. But yeah, I'm
spooked.
and the thing is, we've been talking about this, doing this episode for dadgum near a year.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it just never worked out because we
This
also
is how much little research we were able to squeeze in.
in a year. Yeah.
I feel like I did a really good job. You guys can just.
You did excellent. You did an
Yeah,
excellent
me and
job.
Bradley are terrible.
Yeah,
Hey, check it out. Showtime, and those of you who stream, and those of you who have the Hulu platform, you can do a 7-day free trial of Showtime with your Hulu platform, but you'd want to make sure and cancel that, or they're going to bill you. But you can do a free trial, and Showtime actually has the movie Hitsville, which is the new documentary we were starting to talk about a moment ago, that I've not seen because I don't have Showtime. I do have Hulu, but
And what was the name of the other one? The one you saw that was in 2002? Whoa.
Oh, your shoe hit the lever and it pumped you all the way down.
We got that live on air.
it's called. Ooh, that scared the absolute shit.
I just watched it happen on the
Thought
TV.
the past had come back to haunt you. It's like, here we go.
Standing in the shadows of Motown.
There you go. And what'd you see that on? Do you know if that's streaming anywhere?
Yes, that is streaming on. It's actually, I rented it on Amazon last night.
Oh, so you're-
$3.99.
Okay, well, I can live with that.
Well spent because you've carried this show. Thank you.
$3.99. Well, look, man, I'm telling you, when you start learning about it ropes you in. It ropes you in, and you want to watch it. And then with them having the 2002's current artist come in and do collaborations with still the remaining members of the Funk Brothers. But like I said, Montel Jordan, Shaka Khan, Joan Osborne, she did a couple tracks. It's just really neat. It's a really good.
Jimmy Newton said, "Sound like a Peterbilt setting brakes over there when you get that." Big Al says, "Whoosh." Big Al said, "Little Richard used to visit us all the time. His handlers, entourage were great to associate with." I heard. I can't remember who's telling me the story. They met Little Richard in a gas station parking lot. His folks were getting gas in his Navigator or whatever, and they were getting gas. And Little Richard went in this gas station and come back out, and he said, "Hey, I just wanted to say I'm a big fan of you for a long time. Can I have an autograph?" He said, "Absolutely." And he's like, I only have an autograph if you take this book. And he gave him like this, like a little small like pocket Bible or whatever. He said, "You got to take this book. You got to read it. But I'm going to give you an autograph, but you got to promise you're going to read it." And he's like, "Yeah, I'll read it." Like, "Oh, okay." Signed the autograph. Sit there, talked to him 5-10 minutes. Said he was nice as could be. Didn't act pretentious. Didn't, it's Little Richard. I was watching an episode of Miami Vice today at lunch. Guess who was on there? Little Richard. Preaching and playing that. He had a piano up there in the park or whatever. But and I was like,
I'm sorry.
That's Little frickin' Richard. I mean, who doesn't know who Little Richard is?
Well, you know who the biggest Little Richard fan was, who claims to this day that the only reason he ever started playing music was because of Little Richard and the Beatles?
Who's that?
Lemmy Kilmister.
Wow.
Yep.
Now that's some cool knowledge.
Yep.
That's some great knowledge right there, because Lemmy was nowhere near either one of those.
When
His first band kind of was on the Beatles list, a little bit more psychedelic.
But when I watched a documentary on him, and that's what he said. He goes, if you want to know what rock and roll is, he goes, you just listen to Little Richard and the Beatles. And he just goes on and on throughout that doc, brings Little Richard up constantly.
That's a good documentary. I'm in that documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's all mine.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. You're a couple rows down from me, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're in it too.
I'm in that
You're
documentary.
closer than we are, though.
I'm way closer.
Yeah, you are way closer.
I was looking Lemmy in his eyeballs when he was playing the bass.
I bet you I was way drunker, though.
I bet you were. I was sober as a judge. Let me rephrase that. I had not drinking any alcoholic beverages. The devil's lettuce, that's a different story altogether.
Artie,
I was actually in pretty good shape that night. My wife at the time, on the other hand, she was fixing her. I had to swap seats with her because I was afraid she was going to roll down the stairs.
Artie says, for a real good cover band, go to YouTube, HSCC Band. Ain't no stopping us now. This band has about 30 videos of nothing but cover songs, and music sounds just like the original. We'll write that down, Artie.
Thank you, Artie.
Artie's been on point tonight, man.
He has.
Now, isn't Brooklyn from London? Isn't he?
He's
related
nephew,
to
I think.
nephew, Little Richard.
Nephew.
But there's a lot of on YouTube. There's just a lot of Motown playlists. You can get on there and just hit play and let that go in the background for folks that are interested.
Yeah, that was a good thing about, I was telling you today about having my phone in my pocket, just playing it when I was in the back. And Becky, the lady at work, she's like, what are you listening to? And then somebody else was like, hey, is that so-and-so? You listen to, because I was telling the guys at work, so, man, I'm doing a music episode next Tuesday. We're doing a Motown. I'm kind of nervous because I'm not up to speed on it. And then, I would tell them progress, like, well, I did some research today, and apparently I know more Motown songs than I thought I did. I just didn't know that they were Motown songs. Or
You touched on this earlier, Travis. I'm going to reiterate, and I'm going to give an example from about a month and a half, 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. I'm in Murfreesboro. I'm at work on South Rutherford Boulevard. I'm standing there. It wasn't a bad day. Beautiful day outside. The weather was right. Temperature was right. Everything was right. It just was kind of, at that point in time, a blasé kind of day. And I'm standing at my little XPT, and I'm doing my business, just chilling, waiting on my next car. And all of a sudden, I hear blaring from the vacuum area, "Ain't No Mountain High Enough." And there's something about Motown music, like you said earlier, no matter what it is, it's a feeling. And I hadn't even turned around to look to see who was playing it, where it was coming from. Just instantly, my mood I was energized, and it just picked me up to a whole new level. And for the rest of that day, all I did was listen to old Motown tunes. You know what I'm saying? And I had one of the best sales days. I was in a great mood. It was it's a pick me up. It's a good feeling.
Even like Bull said, even the sad songs make you want to dance. Even sometimes slow dance, but you're still gonna smile. or whoever said Bradley, whoever said that.
I was about to say, you can give Bull the credit if you want. It's fine. Y'all forget about what I said 3 months anyway.
No, man, we didn't do that.
It's like when Hector was like, I think these guys had more hits than the Rolling Stones and Elvis. And
his video lags.
It was funny though.
Jimmy Newton says Motown, heartbeat of America. Hard to argue that. Really.
I pulled up just out of curiosity hard rock covers of Motown songs. There's some pretty interesting ones on here. I won't bore the whole audience reading through all these, but there's I'll have to admit my interest has been piqued on some of these.
I hope everybody watching tonight's kind of had their interest piqued on some Motown songs. Maybe they didn't know were Motown or just forgot about them. So there's a lot of them that you guys have mentioned that I've forgotten about. I'm like, oh yes, Do You Love Me? I kept thinking Kiss. And then you did that. I was like, oh yeah, you sang it. I'm like,
now I've got these two conflicting versions going on in my head now. It's like I'll get one going and then the other one just starts seeping in.
Yeah, there's no conflict in my head.
They're both great songs in my opinion.
Chris,
different.
Chris Branham, he said Little Richard's sister has 2 sons, both work at Ruby Tuesdays in Tullahoma for a while. He would get to-go orders and drop off signed books or pictures. So they were good people. And then he commented about you being sober. He said you were sober when you watched his car burn.
I was. I had just woken up. Got ready for work.
I was about to say, I hope he's not referring to me because if I watch someone's car burn, I don't remember it, so I was not sober.
No, dude, I was working at Worth Bat, and I had to be there at 6 a.m., and I lived 8 miles down Ragsdale Road. So needless to say, you were leaving the house at about 5:15 in the morning to make sure you were at work on time.
Right.
And Chris, at that time, worked at Crockett's. Bull? Go on. Chris worked at Crockett's, and he had gotten home from work late night, bartending and whatnot. So he was still awake from his night, and I was just getting up to get ready for my day, and his car was smoking. And I walked over to where, because we were in like a trailer park. He's next door, and I walk over next door, and I knock on the door. Of course, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, so they're kind of like, who's knocking at the door at 5 a.m.? And I pop the door open. I'm like, hey, Chris, it's Derek. Hey, man, your car's on fire. And he's like, yeah, whatever, smart ass. And he's like giving me a hard time. And I was like, okay, dude.
I'm going
Shut
to work.
the door. I went to work. Needless to say, dude's car was on fire. And when he realized that I might not be kidding, he come outside and it was too late.
She already been burnt.
What you shot?
Here I am already 6 miles down Ragsdale saying, F that motherfucker, man. F him.
I hope when you got home that evening you said, hey, man, what happened to your car?
Hector said either his internet service or the vodka he's consuming, he's a little behind nonetheless.
I like Hector.
Oh, Hector's good.
Can Hector come on the show?
He lives in Tampa.
Can Hector come on the show? Like Zoom?
Yeah.
Can Zoom Hector in.
Already said the Dave Clark 5 also did Do You Love Me? But I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, look, there's a lot. I'm telling you, there are a lot of Motown songs whose original artist, we may know the songs now, but we don't know them because of the original Motown artist. There's a lot of songs like that out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Barry Gordy, good job, sir. I mean, that was...
Well... There's some ups and some downs. It depends on which.
There's definitely ups and downs.
Depends on which side of Barry Gordy you're standing on.
Making millions off the backs of.
I'm on the good side. I was gonna be on the good side. I don't want to hear none of the bad stuff, But it is all good stuff. So
he easy eat them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Easy E got his whole idea from Barry Gordy.
I mean, there's a fair argument in that, but it's a little bit different.
I'm on two
Easy
sides.
eat them, bro.
I'm on two sides.
We need to have an entire NWA history if you want to go in that route. Because it is.
I would love to do some 80s and 90s rap episode.
Well, I mean, yeah.
You gotta be careful with me watching Straight Outta Compton, listen to Easy A. I get pretty gangster.
Travis gets gangster real quick. But I mean, to go to that, during that era and during that time, I mean, none of the rules that existed. Nobody ever in a million years thought that where the real money would be is how many times your song plays on the radio.
Right.
Their goal was to get their song to play on the radio as many times as they could so they could get a live gig. And
which is about how the music industry has turned out to this day.
It is done. It is done. It has gone a Fibonacci and done a full. It's repeating itself as it does.
You get the stream. You make the records to promote your tour, and it used to be you toured to promote the record. Isn't it?
That is correct. It is completely flipped. But I mean, that entire era in regards to, because somebody do that. What would $800 be now?
In the 60s, what was $800 worth in the 60s?
Yeah. See what that is. Because, I mean, we still have to remember the substantial investment it took to cut an album. Well, I mean, to cut singles, because that's what they did. And I absolutely loved it. We were talking about it last year in regards to how the process of pushing a song and a group
$7,034.59.
So it raised almost
$800 in 1960 is equivalent in purchasing power to about $7,034.59 in 2020. A difference of $6,234.59 in 60 years. The 1960 inflation rate was 1.72.
You're not literally landing on the same thing.
You know what? So now, any of you guys go start a band and try to raise $8,000 today.
Yeah, that's a lot of cash, man. That's for sure.
I mean, it's almost 10 times the amount.
Yes.
Today than it was when Barry Gordy borrowed it from family and friends. And in saying that, for family and friends to come up with the $800 for him to borrow, that was a lot. That'd be like me going to my buddy, hey, Travis, can I borrow $2,000 towards this $8,000 I need?
Yeah.
I'm going to go across the street.
I ain't got it.
And I'm going to grab random people, and we're going to create the history of music.
We're going to change music as we know it.
Now,
Absolutely.
I haven't done... I have made the jokes, but I haven't done a deep dive. After Motown took off and he made his money back times a million, did he ever attempt to go back and hook some of these people up that he had made his...
I think he paid everybody back that he borrowed from. Honestly, I do believe that in the story that is there.
But
I
Who
may
he
be
borrowed
wrong.
from is completely different than did he ever make the artist right.
I'm talking about the artist. That's where I'm getting it because I mean that there Motown. There's a whole. I mean I've listened to at least 2 different podcasts about basically about how Motown literally ripped off.
It ripped
the
him
artist.
off.
If he, I get that he took a big risk, but then after he made his bukuls of money, that's right. Was there any stories about him going back and going, okay, let's divvy some of this up?
All I know is that these guys, the Funk Brothers, made chicken scratch
Right.
for a long time, and then finally they got a bump in pay, and things started going a little different. But even when they were talking about that, and they were trying to not be rude, I think, in the documentary, they even let you know, yeah, we got some money, but it wasn't nothing in comparison to what
Barry Gordy money.
some
Or
of
what
these
we'd have
other-
got if we'd have signed a real deal today.
Right.
So,
But again, I mean, we're talking, and that's the tough thing. We're talking about a business that did not even exist, which was publishing. I mean, Ray Charles was the very first artist to ever get his masters. And then after him, the next person was Prince. So, I mean, put it into perspective, I mean, publishing companies weren't running rampant back then.
But if you're I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're a guy who is sitting there going, okay, I mean, let's just take Diana Ross. I mean, these songs are all wonderful songs, but they're not as wonderful if she ain't singing them. So do you say, okay, we've had a ton of money off this last song. Tell you what, Diana, this go around, we're going to pay you 10 times that much, 20 times that much to come here and sing this song.
But what you just said is an exact contradiction to what was really going on, at least from 1959 to 1972. Because what has been reiterated in what I have studied and watched is that, and make sure you understand, I want to preface this with someone like Diana Ross, okay? Once she had made a name for herself, like you said, okay, now there's a name for her, so now she's bringing us some money. Prior to that, Bull was talking about earlier, she made her debut in which band?
Diana Ross, that was Martha and the Marvelettes. Yeah.
And then the Supremes. And then it was Diana Ross and the Supremes.
And then it was Diana Ross.
So what I'm saying is, in the beginning, what these guys from the original Funk Brothers basically stated is, it didn't matter who was singing the song; they were all playing the music. It wouldn't. The way they're trying to describe it is, at the time when it was coming up and coming and growing, yes, you had guys like Smokey Robinson and the Miracles who were making hit after hit, or Marvin Gaye who made hit after hit, but at the time, it didn't matter. Like these guys are saying, it didn't matter which artist you brought in to perform this song. We were doing the song. It didn't matter who you brought in to sing it or who you brought in. Like, this was what Motown was for this amount of time. Now,
so they could have picked. I mean, I get. So what you're saying, or I think you're trying to say, is they could have picked another random woman, and that song would have been just as huge. It didn't have to be Diana Ross singing.
According to what they have to say. Now, once again, I've prefaced that with the fact that once Diana Ross had made a name for herself, that changes that aspect. But
I find it. I have a hard time believing they could have just picked another random woman who could sing like Diana Ross could sing and make that song.
But why? There's plenty of people who could sing like Diana Ross could sing.
Martha so they were there, and Barry was like, man, I'd love to have another female. And Martha's like, hey, you got to check out this girl who lives 3 doors down from me. She's pretty good. And they went over, he heard her, and he was like, hey, you're pretty good.
But this is another extremely talented singer going, hey, this chick's pretty good, too. This is not just her going, yeah, there's a chick that lives next door to me. Throw her in the studio and let her sing. That's not, I have a hard time believing they could have just randomly gone, hey, you come here and sing this song, and it would be as good as we think it is today.
Man, you may be right. I'm just gonna say, with the powerhouse voices that were Gladys Knight and the Pips, Martha, Diana Ross with the Supremes, with the powerhouse voices that were at the ready already.
I
understand what these guys said too.
I agree. Well, first of all, those guys were world-class musicians.
It's like,
but you take world-class musicians,
made Diana Ross, and then now that they've made her, now she's bringing in more because of who she is. That's the way I see it.
And again, right, I want you to think about this, everybody.
Oh,
we are now listening to remastered albums. These albums first come out, and they were on AM, and they were mixed with a higher frequency. So that deep boom soul that we feel in our bones when we crank it up now, you didn't hear that. You didn't feel it. You just got a vibe, which was in the mix in the music. So the argument of you could grab anybody to create that balance between guitar, horns, drums.
But you're not hearing what I'm saying. I'm not arguing that the 13 guys in the room are not. They are. You can't just find those guys. But I'm also saying the difference between being a world-class musician and being a club band in the rest of your life and being a stadium band with a number one hit is the person singing the song that you're playing behind. And I don't believe that you're pumping out all these hits without the band, but also without the folks that are able to sing it. Because those guys can't just be on the radio playing their instruments every hit after number one. You've got to have the voice to sing the song to go along with your playing.
But sometimes you already have a song that you don't have a singer for yet because you've got songwriters.
Exactly. And so you find the singer, but the song doesn't become a hit without the proper singer to go along with it.
Tell Nashville and NSAI and CSAC that.
So you're telling me that we're getting off topic here.
There are songwriters today that write songs strictly for, this is who I think should sing this. You're exactly right.
Or they find a phenomenal singer to sing it, even if they don't write it and go, I want Tim McGraw to sing, but they write and they go, I want someone good to sing it. And then that good person takes it. Because I'm going to tell you, no offense to y'all, but if I write a song that I feel is a hit, I hope to God that Travis Reed doesn't record it. I want that SOB that I hear in the club with the voice that soars to record it, because that dude's going to make it a hit. Mm-hmm. Travis may record it, and people are going to go, that's okay. Yeah. But the dude that's singing with the cover band that you were just talking about, that dude records it and it gets pushed. But now we got a hit.
But we're talking about three different things. We're talking about talented phenoms. We're talking about entertainers. And we're talking about people that can convey an emotion that is in the song.
Now, back to my original question. Did Berry Gordy ever look at all these phenomenal people who made these massive hits and made him a world of money and go, I'm going to cut you a check? Or, hey, again, we don't have to say Diana Ross because that got us done. But the next time these people came in and sing, you know what? You've had 3 hits for me. This go around, I'm going to pay you triple what I paid you last time. Is there any inclination that he did that?
I know that those artists made more than the band making the music. I know that. I don't know if he ever went back and gave them any kind of bonus, any kind of boost. I just know that, to play on what you're trying to point, yes, Diana Ross made more than the guys making the music in the studio because she was Diana Ross. The Supremes, as a group, made more than the guys in the studio making the music because they were the Supremes. Smokey Robinson and the Miracles made more than the guys in the studio because they were Smokey. So, yes, they made more. Did he ever compensate them for what they really were worth based on what he made? I don't know.
Now, are there families who went back and sued Berry Gordy and Motown? Yes,
they definitely
because there is a argument to be made that at the time these artists had no clue what this publishing mailbox money would look like, and that is a whole new argument now for the families and for the legacies, right, and for the people who are the owners of it.
Right, absolutely. Doing my research, Big John Richardson, big fan of the show, big friend of all of ours. He's a humongous Motown. That's his jam. That's his favorite. And he gave me a few. Otis Redding, we've mentioned him. This song, "These Arms of Mine."
Excellent.
He said that is his jam right there. Most people, sitting on the dock of the bay. That's the more famous, but apparently that's the jam. Marvin Gaye, "Gotta Give It Up." He said, "This is a song I won't play at my funeral. My family and friends know this is my last wish. No crap." And he said, "Aretha is my woman go-to, strongest, most range for a female voice he's ever heard." Mm-hmm. And coming from John's got a really good voice. So coming from John, that's good.
The guys in Anthrax are all massive Motown fans.
Really?
I could remember reading interviews, especially with Scott Ian early on. They talk about and listening to Motown on the bus, and that's kind of where and what's the Charlie Benetti and his brother, the bass player, how they kind of are inspired by the Motown songs with the funk and the jazz. And
that's cool. I did not know that.
That's awesome.
He goes on to say, "Etta by God James gives me chills. Love that white-haired baby." Al Green, Stevie Wonder, can't go wrong. He said, and this I read this because this is exactly what Tooth said. What you can do is look at a lot of the songs and recognize a ton of original Motown songs that have been remade over the years. That's almost exactly what you said earlier, and I forgot he said that. He said, talk about Little Richard. So for what we talked about and who I went to, who knows more about Motown than I did, he kind of reiterated the point of what we all said and what especially you and Bull said. So I think, and he said overall his favorite Motown, Otis Redding. He said he studied his versing and range, mixed it with his hillbilly gravel with just about everything he sang. So when he sings, he was channeling his inner Otis Redding.
That's right.
That's pretty cool. And I'll tell you, John Richardson's got a great voice. The dude can sing. So for him to give all those guys props, I'm going to take that advice for sure. Get these comments here. Brady Rich Creek, he wants to know everybody's thoughts on Joe Bonamassa.
He's an excellent guitar player. I mean, he is phenomenal.
He said that he's the best guitar player on earth. best guitar player on earth is not on earth anymore. He's in heaven. His name is Prince.
Now, Joe Bonamassa is awesome.
Oh, he's great. He's the man.
Yeah.
Big Al, was Diana Ross's music in Flashdance?
Yes.
Okay.
Diana Ross was the 80s, if you ask me. Well, her and the Bee Gees.
She encompassed and embodied the 80s.
You know, the great thing about, from a guy's perspective, all these
Like the way you said that.
powerful women from Motown had these great voices. They were all really easy on the eyes back in the day.
Yes.
Well, sex sales.
All of them. Artie, who was the first white group signed by Motown?
Was it 98 Degrees?
It could have been 98 Degrees.
I have no idea.
clue.
I don't know, Artie. I don't know.
Artie
Big
knows.
Al agree. He says, truth be known, they never made what they should have. He's
Oh, gosh,
kind of
no.
what y'all's talking about.
Yeah.
For sure. So it's, but they,
But again, in that time, they did not understand what mailbox money and publishing was going to evolve into.
yeah, that's true. They at least made a living.
100%.
But-
Doing what they loved.
But, to me, with the Funk Brothers, it seemed like they should have made a way better living than they should have.
Well, Reba Jeanette Smith was the first white solo artist to record for Motown, and she was professionally known as Debbie Dean.
How about that? There we go.
There we go, Artie.
What say you, Artie? I bet Artie,
You have
Artie
any
probably.
hits?
Okay, I'll put that into perspective. In Nashville right now, too.
Nick and the Jaguars is argued to be the first white band to record for Motown. So there's some controversy.
Ah,
What say you,
We've
Artie?
never heard of them.
it does not
not
help at all.
helping me at all.
That does not help at all. But Artie's fixing to inform us. Well, but so you go right now in Nashville and you sign a release that says you are a studio musician. You get paid X amount of dollars for coming here and playing on Luke Bryan's song. Thank
Right.
you. May I have another? Luke's in now. The next one will be in after them, and you get your industry standard rate. And that's what you get.
And that's just fine. I have no problem with that.
So, well, but I mean, we just sit there and talk about, a lot of it. Now, again, did the artist,
Well, my argument was that I think that those musicians that we've been discussing were phenomenal musicians. I just don't think that I got the impression y'all were trying to say, well, you got these musicians, anybody could have came in and sang along with them and they would have been hits. I was arguing that I don't believe that to be the case.
I don't mean it all the time. I mean it 90% of the time. That's my 2 cents.
I don't mean anybody as in anybody, but anybody with that could sing. Anybody who had some talent. You couldn't have brought anybody. You couldn't have brought me in and it'd be a hit because I can't fucking sing. But if you brought in someone who sang comparable to Diana Ross, and I am sure that there are people in the world, I think I've heard people that are better than Diana Ross.
All we have to do is watch America's Got Talent to know how much talent there is in this world.
So my point is,
What happens if you don't watch that?
Diana Ross, right place, right time, knew the right person who introduced her to the right people. It could have just as easily been
Shelley Stevenson.
Janet Jackinson or Shelley Stevenson, who lived 3 doors down from Martha and was like, hey, let me introduce you to Barry. Barry, what do you think about her? She's pretty good.
Do you know those
That's
women?
what I'm saying. I'm not doubt. I understand what you're saying, and I'm not saying that you're not right. Because once Diana Ross has made a name for herself, then now she's bringing more to the table. But I'm saying that based on what Motown was created to do, they could have brought anybody that could sing like her, and it would have.
No, I
still
won't
been a
argue
hit.
with that.
Okay. So as long as we're in agreement.
Yeah, I won't argue
he didn't
with
go
that.
over and go, hey, that's Mary,
Yeah.
and she yells at the school bus driver. We're going to give her a break. No. It's a female with talent.
There had to be some talent. Don't
Yes.
get me
Yeah.
wrong, but I believe that Shelley Stevenson could have been equally as talented as Diana Ross, and if she had been the one to live in that apartment, she could have been the one to make that.
And
song
probably
famous.
what we don't hear about are the people that they brought in that said,
Oh,
hey,
God.
jump in the studio and sing this song. And they all, 5 minutes later, going, yeah, let's try the bitch that lives 4 houses down.
No. I mean, well, I'm pretty sure they didn't put them on tape because, as you
Yes.
discussed, tape was very expensive. But everybody got a shot.
And he only had $800, so we only had so much tape. We only had so much tape.
She goes, All right, next. There went 50 cents I'll never get back.
Artie said Rare Earth was the first white band signed to Motown.
I think I've heard
Well,
that somewhere before.
Artie, Google is saying you're wrong. And they're not only saying you're wrong, but they're saying you're wrong because that is not either of the two bands that they've listed to be the first white recording artist signed to Motown.
I've heard of Rare Earth, though.
Absolutely. I've got a Rare Earth cassette tape at home right now.
Here we go. Rare Earth is American soul band affiliated with Motown's Rare Earth record label. Interesting. Now, we're going to have to do a show about that.
Guess so.
That'll be about a 10-minute show.
Rare Earth, actually, seriously, check them out.
Yeah, I know who
give
they
them a
are.
listen.
Yeah, as soon as he said Rare Earth, I was like, well, I know them, but I didn't know that they were the first white band signed by Motown.
I did not know. I did not know about the Rare Earth labels. I did not know about that.
So, Tooth, what we're going to do next time for music? What do you think?
So the next music episode,
If you don't know yet, we don't know yet, but I'm just saying.
well, no, I feel like now's as good a time as any to decide.
Yeah.
You guys have mentioned doing the 80s and 90s rap, and I'm all for doing an episode on 80s and 90s rap, but you guys will be carrying me more.
Think
on
so?
that. I don't know as much. I mean, I know what got me into rap.
Bull.
We've got Bull. I know what got me into rap. I know 80s, 90s wise where it started for me, but
Tupac.
outside of that, actually, Dr. Dre, actually, Ice Cube is where it started for me
Cube.
with Today It Was a Good Day.
No
That's
Vaseline.
what really
And
pulled me in. So then I started going back and listening to some NWA stuff. And then when Tupac hit, yeah, I was lost. That's all there was to it. But that's all I can talk about. You know what I'm saying? That's really that's the majority of what I could bring. Bull could talk for hours and hours and hours and hours. And we can talk about Shock G, and we can talk about the Humpty Dance, and we can talk about
Well, but the beautiful part is about 80s and 90s hip hop and rap. It is just how each area created its own sound and style, and how so unique it was, and how each one fed off the other in order to create its unique sound, except for New York. East Coast has always thought they were better than everybody else. The West Coast has just always been really high. And the South,
Like on the weed.
Sherm.
as Bill Hicks would say, real fucking high on drugs.
And what'll make that episode the best is that you'll get to hear four white boys from Manchester's take on rap.
Heck yeah.
Hey, I want to do an episode on shock rock too.
I
Shock
would
rock.
absolutely like
Yeah.
to do an episode on shock rock. We've done the butt rock episode. We've classic rock. Have we done just a straight? We have done classic rock. We've done the butt rock. Man, I don't know.
I have to go look at the archives, man.
I think I'm down with the shock rock. I don't know as
Classic
much
rock? I
about
don't
it.
recall- if I-
shock rock like Gore.
Yeah, and you know, you go back in to get started. G.G. Allen and whoa, brother.
You in that chair? Post Malone chair.
It's a Post Malone chair.
I have to go with the archives, man, and see what we've.
Maybe we haven't done classic.
I don't remember us doing classic.
I don't remember us
talked about-
doing classic.
We were separating because when we were talking about
hair bands
the hair
versus
bands,
classic rock.
we didn't want to get them confused.
Yeah.
So I'm open for a classic.
Yeah, because we went the hair bands. I think we had like a year. I think.
Yes, we
went from like
limited it.
80
had
to,
to be from 80, basically 80 to 89.
Yeah.
and it had to be hairband. It couldn't be Credence. It couldn't be. You know what I'm saying? We made it. So yeah, but I've not picked yet, but I really do like the idea of doing the rap, the 80s, 90s rap. So I think that's what I call the next music episode to be. Oh God, 80s and 90s rap, and Bull will be prevalent.
Artie, that's exactly what our Google had said, sir. Google said first white group signed in Motown. They had hits. Reba Smith, known as Debbie Dean, was the first white solo artist. Hope that clears this up.
Thank you, buddy.
Yes, sir. Hey, thanks for chiming in, Artie.
I appreciate you, Artie.
Yeah. But yeah, Bradley's talking about, four white guys from Manchester, Tennessee talking about, rap and stuff. Well, four white guys in Manchester, Tennessee talking about Motown, but it's freaking Motown,
And with love, too. I mean, this isn't making fun of it.
No,
It's just
absolutely
obviously
not.
I know you already agree with me, and everybody that really knows us and is watching us knows this, but it really doesn't matter what color we are.
No.
This is good music, and we're trying to remind people that there was some really good music that sometimes we forget was made.
Well,
and we should maybe take a step back and remember some of the great tracks from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and now. You know?
Well, and this, you talk about, okay, the rap wouldn't be here for Motown. Well, Motown probably spawned some funk bands. The funk bands spawned some R&B bands.
Motown spawned funk.
You know? So
I believe firmly
And then-
that funk as a sound came from
you
that.
look at Sly and the Family Stone. They were funk, right? Then they had like the first rap song, but they were like a funk band. Was that correct?
They were a club band
But they were a funk band.
to a degree, yeah.
Well, that's I read it today. They were a funk band.
They were considered
So-
funk.
They were considered funk? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
they were
okay.
considered funk, and they had the first what was considered a rap song. So funk derived from Motown, funk, R&B, rap, bam. Here you go.
Well, okay, all right. So rap actually started in New York in the parks, and what it was is the DJs were battling on who could do the best parties because you got paid to do a party, and so in the city of New York, the Caribbeans, the Jamaicans, they make their own speakers. Jamaicans still to this day make the best studio speakers. So everybody would meet in the park on Thursday and Friday, and they would they would set up their sound systems and play their music in order to be the party DJ for the week. And they'd go back and forth on who was had the better sound system. It was louder, had the better bump. And then one day, Gordon said, a dude just grabbed the mic and started yelling at the other guy. And then he said the other guy grabbed the mic and started yelling back. And hip hop was born.
The first rap battle.
The first rap battle
Right.
was to.
So what was this first rap song you were just telling me about?
It was Rapper's Delight, right?
But that Rapper's Delight was by who?
Sly.
The Sly and the Family Stone, right?
I guess I'm learning something. I knew Rapper's Delight was the first rap song, but I didn't know that's who.
I think I maybe
The Sugar Hill Gang.
Sugar Hill Gang. That's it. Sugar
That's
Hill
the
Gang.
last time I checked,
Right,
this who
right.
did Rapper's Delight.
See, I don't know a
I
lot
wasn't
about it.
about to jump in and argue, but I was pretty sure that was
Well,
right.
I jumped in and argued, and it's the Sugar Hill Gang, and I'm the music expert,
That's
so
right.
ask me again.
You win. See, there you go.
I got lost there for a minute. Where were we
Well, I
going?
was getting confused because he kept saying Silent Family Stone.
Yeah, Sugar Hill Gang.
But it's
Yeah.
the Sugar Hill Gang that did Rapper's Delight.
Yeah.
Rapper's Delight.
Right.
It was like
Considered the
Sly and Family
first.
Stone was a funk band.
Yeah.
First rap song, and I was like,
Oh, not.
Rappers Delight by
Hey, I was right about
Where are we
Sly-
going with this?
I was right about Sly and the Family Stone being a funk band.
That
though.
part's
Yeah,
correct.
and
But-
again, I couldn't argue it because
Mic drop.
But you
drop.
were absolutely right. But I was just really lost on the song, which is why I wanted to bring it back.
What are we doing here tonight?
But now the Sugar Hill Gang, they are kind of titled with the first rap song, "Rapper's Delight." Grandmaster Flash.
Grandmaster Flash. Yep.
You know what we have to once we
Don't
get
push
through all
me.
of these different genres and whatnot. We have to have the episode where we just do all right. Favorite albums, favorite bands, period. End of story. Because mine could you tell me to list my top 10 favorite albums of all time. I know everyone's going, well, it's going to be that. But no, shit. I'm sorry, my friends. There's going to be a lot. It's an eclectic mix.
Not so fast, my friends.
And that's the best part about this is not the just say, hey, hey, we listen to rap too. It's just like listen. Hopefully, you'll listen to these shows and if you're stuck in a rut, you'll go, hey, I'm going to go listen to this stuff, and all of a sudden there's a wide world of music, man. That's what's so great about it. Depending on what your mood is, I mean, yeah, and you can bounce around and just it's never ending. It's
You know
just
what?
Great. It is great.
We need Ramsey's Rhapsody on
I like
Spotify.
it on the Spotify.
Yeah,
wow.
Ramsey's Rhapsody. I like it.
yeah.
Put together a playlist.
That's a playlist.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. For the Joe Show,
I can do
like
that.
the
I like
Ramsey
it.
Rhapsody.
I like it.
That's how you earn your shirt, Bradley. That's how you earn your shirt.
That's right.
I see what you did there too.
You can work for a living. Huh?
All right, guys. Well, hope maybe we learned something today. I know I did. Sly and the Family Stone did not have the first rap song. That was Sugar Hill Gang.
And I thought they were a disco band.
I want to shout out to Artie. Thank you for all your comments. And I'm not going to argue this fact or this opinion. Funk came from James Brown. I've heard that said in many a different scenario, but technically he's the godfather of soul. So I'm not going to credit him to inventing funk. I'm just not going to do it. I refuse.
I'm not doing it.
And you know what? You do have the lower third.
I do. I'm the music expert.
Yeah.
Just saying, Artie.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. Art's pretty daggum good, though.
No, Artie's got knowledge, and he's right. I mean, technically, like I said, I've heard that in several different documentary scenarios, but he's Godfather of Soul. He was funky.
That's right.
He was funky.
That's right.
You ever seen some interviews with James Brown?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. It's like David Lee Roth.
There you go, George Clinton. There you go.
That's right.
Flashlight.
Bootsy Collins, baby. All right, guys. Thanks for putting up with us for a couple hours here on a Tuesday. We appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in on a Tuesday. Get these things rolling back. Get Bradley back in the fold here on the music and the movies. Get Tooth back on this music stuff since he's the expert.
I'd be excited to do another movie episode, too.
Absolutely.
We're gonna do that. Don't y'all worry. Don't worry.
We were all down for the count for various reasons around Halloween, man, because that's my time when it died. Horror movies on 24/7.
Yeah, we were all kind of screwed up. We are the new Soul Train, Big Al. Good call, sir. That's us, buddy.
Can I tell a quick funny story?
Absolutely.
Sure.
My dad used to frequent a little hole-in-the-wall bar in Viola called Clark's.
Clark Lynn.
And one Saturday, he hollered at me, and it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. He said, "Hey, hop in here with me, son. I want you to see this." So we jumped in the truck. We rode down to Viola, and we walked into Clark's, and just sitting there at the bar. It's just my dad and Clark. And I was like, "Okay, what do we? I've been here before. I understand. This is where old farmers come to drink." And all of a sudden, people started pulling in, and these other old rugged men come walking in, and all of a sudden you look up and there's a crowd. And then one guy, he runs in and he sits down and said, "Is it about to start?" And old Clark looks at his watch and he walks over and he turns on the TV. And these guys piled in on Saturday afternoon to watch Soul Train.
Really?
And Pop Elman goes, "Happens every Saturday." And I'm sitting there and I watch him. And they're up there dancing. And I shouldn't name any names because y'all know some. He's like, "Right there, that's my favorite one. Right there. And they had their favorites picked out and everything. And they piled in on Saturday afternoons to drink beer and watch Soul Train.
That is awesome.
That is awesome. Right here in Viola.
Yep.
That is phenomenal.
That is great, man.
Thank you, Bradley. That's awesome.
And I will leave y'all with that. Thanks for having me.
All right, Tooth, get this next music episode figured out.
I think we're going to do the 80s, 90s rap.
80s, 90s rap? Okay.
And I just want to leave you guys with a really good dad joke. Every year, hundreds of children are shipped off to mom school, never to be heard from again.
Hey-oh. Good one, sir.
I like that.
Good one.
That's stupid, but it tickled me.
It's like he's got a feather up his butt. It's
Tickled. Well, thanks for being here, Tooth.
Hey, thank you for having me, Travis. Guys out there in Facebook land, anybody that paid any attention to us tonight, thanks for watching and thanks for following along with us when we talk music.
Absolutely.
I feel like without music, we'd all be lost.
And remember, when it comes to music, there is no wrong opinions. You're only wrong when you tell somebody else they're wrong for liking something.
I concur.
Amen, sir. Amen. Unless it's Nirvana. Bradley, thanks for being here, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. And seriously, I'm excited to be doing this again. Hopefully this continues to be regular because I love this.
Yes, Big Al, that was Viola proper, sir. That was downtown Viola proper. Well, thanks for being here and doing what you do, sir.
Oh, man, thanks for this episode. This was awesome.
That's great, man. It's been a year in the making. We've been talking about it, and I'm glad we did it, Tooth.
It has come to fruition.
Son, you nailed it. You and Bull, I absolutely killed it tonight, man.
Thanks, man.
Y'all did
All I want to
great.
say is it was the 1st of November, a day I'll always remember.
3rd of November,
It
sir.
was the 3rd of November.
Just checking.
Bam.
Who sung that, Travis?
That's the Temptations, dude.
Who was the lead singer?
Oh, I don't remember. He's a heroin addict. David Mitchell. Oh, no, he works at Common John.
Well, yeah, we'll end the show with that.
All right. Appreciate it, guys.